Sacramento Kings Insiders. Here are your Kings Insiders, Brenden Nunes and Frankie Cartoscelli.
What is up, everyone? Happy holidays. As you heard, Brenden Nunes, Frankie Cartoscelli. We got Kyle behind the glass here as well, joining us today. Got a lot to talk about, Frank.
Yes.
It's an eventful last couple days of the Sacramento Kings.
Yeah. Hello, everybody. And what a fun game last night. I guess you could say a fun night, entertaining game. Let me just start there by saying that last night was a incredible basketball game. As far as a game from an entertainment standpoint, and the Kings, I guess as a whole, I'm looking at the numbers. They play well. 52% from the field, 41 from three. First game that they've lost this season when having 30 or more assists. But the one thing we're going to be talking about the most here is the final play of the game, as well as what happened down the final couple stretches of the game. But I know that you had a busy weekend and you were on the go, and last night you were able to take in two games last night. You took in the 76ers and Bucks game.
Not great.
I just want to ask you, just off somebody who, I got to have some time to digest the 76ers game, and how was it for you just taking those two in back-to-back?
Yeah, it was a reminder of Clippers Tobias Harris back when I was like, wow, this guy is really, really good. And he was back, which probably says something about the Kings defense a little bit as well, not to take anything away from him. But I don't know, it felt pretty night and day in these two games with the shooting between the two. Obviously, I think it was only 8 threes the Kings made in Philadelphia, and a lot of it was shots not going down. And then the 17 turnovers, I think they ended with there as well. But a big difference to me also between these two is how different the rotations felt. Coach is trying out Colby Jones in that first game, still playing with who's going to be the backup point guard. And then it felt like in the Milwaukee game, he fully committed to, okay, Malik Monk is just our backup point guard here. And we saw that double big lineup for a little while. And I was like, okay, he's still definitely searching a little bit when it comes to this bench. And then you go to, again, that Milwaukee game, really 8 guys played. 9. Sasha played 6 minutes.
Well, he had to
as well.
He kind of had to come in too because Keegan, which we'll talk about later. But I mean, he kind of had to come in as well,
right? Yeah. I mean, I thought they were playing really well in Milwaukee. That game obviously was the highlight between the two, in my mind. And just that first half felt so different. The first quarter I thought was going really quick, a really high paced game, both teams scoring a lot. And then the second quarter they just decided to call everything again.
That's the thing, and I don't want to come off complaining or come off with the gripe. I mean, I'm sure fans at home are saying, well, why not? It's the Kings, you should. But Giannis gets a kind of crazy, not crazy, but the whistles, it's very light. And also there are a lot of late whistles in the first half, which also I think kind of builds to the point of why Mike Brown got to his point of where he got last night. I think that there were a lot of calls that kind of were coming late, or they're, ticky-tack fouls, whatever you want to call them. It was a tough game. I mean, the free throw discrepancy did slow down as the game went on, but Giannis by himself last night from the free throw line, 14 attempts, and of course he knocks down all the ones that matter in crunch time. I think he went 4 for 4.
That's an extra 15 minutes of game time, by the way. Am I the only one counting? I still do count. I'm not gonna lie. But I think I consistently got to 11.
What is the rule? How long do you get?
I think it's 10.
Is it 24 seconds?
I believe it's 10 after he catches the ball.
It's not 10 seconds.
No, I was counting, and I got to at least 11 every time with a generous count.
I think the whole entire count is, and also, why are they letting him take all the time he needs? The ref standing by with the ball,
right?
Letting him just go through his motion. No. I've never seen that happen to anybody else before. And also, someone on Twitter pointed out last night, as far as they call lane violations, stuff like that, they were completely in the lane on Giannis' second free throw in the fourth. Everybody was in the lane last night, so they didn't call anything, But I digress.
If the Kings need to take 10 seconds, 11 seconds to shoot their free throws, if it helps.
And it might. Do it. Do we want to start there, I guess, or do we want to get into the free throw shooting? Because that, honestly, is something I'm seeing a lot on Twitter. And, Malik Monk, who is really, truthfully, in my mind, and was close last year and this year as well, a 90% free throw shooter. I think he's down to 85% now.
There's nobody else you'd rather it be, right?
No. There's nobody else on the team you'd rather want the line. Maybe there's an argument for, I mean, again, he wasn't on the floor, though, but Harrison Barnes isn't a horrible free throw shooter. But obviously, De'Aaron Fox and Domantas Sabonis have taken a step back from the free throw line. Kevin Huerter, for whatever reason, has struggled at the free throw line during his Kings tenure.
Yeah.
But Malik Monk's the guy. He's one of the league leaders in free throw percentage. Misses 2 in overtime in the final 18 seconds. And then De'Aaron goes 1 of 2. We all know what happens after that. We'll talk much more about the final play of the game. But the free throw shooting is tough because the game was there. the Kings had a chance to essentially put a bow on it. And it really doesn't come down to X's and O's or anything else other than you just didn't make your free throws. As far as this specific situation, the Kings lost by 1 point. They missed 3 free throws over the final 18 seconds. I hate to say the whole loss comes down to free throw shooting because there's more that goes into play here, but come on, like that's the whole reason. And when you look at the Sacramento Kings, who are supposed to be this playoff contender, this hopefully what the Kings want to be is more than a playoff contender, a finals contender. They're 30th out of 30 teams of free throw shooting right now. And I even look back, this is a deeply rooted issue. Going back since De'Aaron Fox entered the league, and this is not a knock on De'Aaron Fox, only I'm just saying as far as the time, it's been 7 seasons now. The Sacramento Kings are 29th out of 30 teams in free throw percentage since the year 2017. So this goes beyond this year. It's a deep-rooted Kings issue. I don't know why. I don't know what the solution is. We're at every practice, and people that follow our work on social media or follow other of our friends that are in the media, we post free throw videos at the end of every single practice.
Every practice. I get comments for sure of like, they need to shoot more free throws. These guys shoot a lot of free throws. And I think that part of like the frustration that you're saying is like, there's no fix really here. Like you just have to make them. The Kings have shot less than 60% from the free throw line 4 times this season. The Boston loss, they missed 11. The win that they sneaked out in Atlanta not that long ago, they missed 7. They missed 9 in one of those losses to Houston. That really bad loss to Charlotte, they missed 7 free throws. You can keep going. Cleveland, they missed 8 free throws. They went 27 of 42 against the Warriors earlier this year.
Yes, yeah, they did.
42?
42 free throws.
Jeez.
No, that's got to be a season high.
And you make 27.
Because last night they took 20. Yeah.
It's frustrating. And the fact that it was Malik was like, that's the one guy I would want to be there. You're up 1. This is where it should happen. And I don't know, the fact that I knew the result before, obviously I walked into those free throws and I'm like, Malik's really going to miss both of these?
I'm telling you.
What kind of weird plot twist is this?
Right. No, it is. And I was sitting there, I was watching the game, the end of it, my girlfriend was with me. And when Malik missed both, I was like, it's still, Kings are in a really good spot.
Yeah.
When Fox, okay, first of all, the Kings going down and immediately allowing a triple to Brook Lopez in the corner too is just like, and I don't want to highlight and say the Kings defense was, and again, they did allow 143 points in overtime. Yeah, I mean, this was a shootout by every sense last night. Both teams were great on the offensive end. But to the Kings' credit, they did get some stops when they really needed to. They got the stops that they really needed. That one, no, the Bucks got in transition and Brook Lopez knocks down a triple. Kind of a furious, crazy sequence, but it worked out. But when Fox missed that second free throw, I turned to my girlfriend, Allie. Hi, Allie, if you're listening. And just said, this feels like a Dame time scenario. It just really just feels like.
So it's your fault.
Well, just the fact that it just envisioned it. It's like, as long as you don't let Dame get downhill, just don't let Dame get in transition and the Kings are going to be completely fine. And watching back that final play, is it really a bad idea to let Giannis get the inbound and like?
No, probably not. I don't know, because you don't want to let him get downhill either. But I felt a little Paul George last night. A little like, that's not a great shot.
He was, you know. Have you seen the angle, behind the other basket angle?
I have not.
Where Dame's literally falling completely to his left, and the shot, it's an insane.
Yeah,
it's just one of the greatest shooters of all time.
Yeah,
it's what he does, and I think that he's taken a little bit of a back seat as far as to being like he's still Dame Lillard. I think that's the whole point. Like last night we saw he's still Damian Lillard, no matter what, if he's this number 2 option, whatever, in Milwaukee. But I just was looking back at that final play. I think Deuce pointed out on Twitter too, like, would it have been the worst thing in the world to let Giannis just get the inbound? And if he goes down there and scores it too, sure, the game continues. But the idea of him pulling up and chucking a half quarter or 35 foot or whatever, I would much rather take my chances there. But Dame got downhill and we know what happened. But
I think they did a pretty good job in those minutes leading up to it of like making sure Giannis was usually the guy shooting the free throws. Like Milwaukee had to call a timeout just to get the ball inbounded at one point. Like I thought Jordy was kind of orchestrating things pretty well there, and their inbound defense was pretty good, and they were getting it to Giannis. And you got it. I agree with you. I'd probably rather it be Giannis. But I also want to point out, De'Aaron hit a layup not long before that seemed like it iced the game.
Yeah.
And it was the most casual looking way that you could have done that. He just strolls down the floor and hits this layup that we see him start his warmups with every single time he goes out there. It's just a very casual kind of scoop layup over the top over a guy that's won 1 or 2 defensive player of the years as if it was nothing.
Nothing. No,
it was just a practice shot.
There are so many things that went well for the Kings last night, which is why this is very frustrating and why it was so close to being, I mean, again, Chris Middleton was out, which we like to point to the Kings underperforming against these teams that are down starter. Last night, they didn't do that. And to be fair, I mean, the Kings were without Keegan Murray.
Both Chris Middletons were out.
Both Chris Middletons were out. The new Chris Middleton was out. But it was a level playing field in my mind. It was a level playing field, and the Kings, they rose to the occasion. I think that the fact that they came out with urgency was really, really welcoming, like a really welcome sight, because they looked so just, I don't know what it's like when I don't know what the reason is, I guess, when the Kings play these shorthanded teams, they just don't come out looking like they're playing 100%. Like, it just is kind of like, okay, Joel Embiid's out against Philly. Obviously, the Kings felt like they're in a good spot. I thought the Kings were in a good spot, too.
Right.
Didn't matter. Last night was different. They come out, they have a great first quarter. Really, just it was kind of like the Magic game, how like the game was kind of within 5-8 points just the whole night. It felt like that until the Bucks won their big run late. But it is a frustrating loss because the Kings did play really well. I mean, they shoot 50% from the field, like I said, 40 from 3, 30 assists, like 140 points. They had 9 turnovers. There's a lot of good from this game, but 75% from the free throw line, which is that horrific? No, but when you miss 3 in the final 18 seconds, that's enough to cost you the game. And this isn't even us getting into the foul calls and all that. We're going to talk about that in a little bit. But I think if they won that game, would you say that's one of their better wins or best wins of the year if they pull that out?
Yeah, it's tough because I don't think Milwaukee's been performing to the level that a lot of people expected coming into the year. Their defense hasn't been great, even though Brook Lopez looked, again, like a defense player of the year type of candidate last night. To be fair, I thought Mo Bamba looked great the other night too. So take that for what you will. But it definitely would have been one of the better wins considering how many in a row they've lost to this team. Not that that really matters to this group specifically. But the top of the East is really taking care of business against the Kings. And for them to be able to pull this out, I do think definitely would have been one of the bigger ones. Is there anything that stood out to you rotationally in this one?
I mean, just that double bigs lineup. It really did seem like it worked. I mean, obviously, I don't think it's something we're going to see very often. I think it's a matchup-based rotation. But Alex Len out there with Domantas Sabonis, I kind of had to do a double take.
Same.
I was like, what? This is new.
Like we've never seen this ever.
Right? It was like what last year when remember there were situations about the Kings run Sabonis and Rashawn Holmes together, and then that was like the biggest talk.
Fiasco.
I think it happened like for a minute in one game because the Kings were shorthanded or something, but that was kind of like that version. And again, before we go to break, I want to just kind of point out how I think Alex Len's been just a very solid backup option for the Kings, and I don't understand or see a reason why they should go a different direction as far as backup bigs because he just does a good job of everything he does. So
I'm definitely with you, but we can continue that conversation after the break. Also get into what really had Mike Brown ticked off and the little education that he attempted to give to the media afterwards, bringing a computer to the press conference. Haven't seen that one before, but we'll dive into that a little bit more after this break. Brenden, Nunes, Frankie, Cartoscelli here talking Kings from 9 to noon.
All right, what's up? We're on YouTube. It's all fun.
We're on YouTube.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we're still here.
We're going to stay live on YouTube.
We're hanging out.
What's up,
Frankie, you tweeted out after I knew I remembered it somewhere. The Suns win that the Kings were 12-0 in games where
I can't hear you.
Oh, that's right. You're plugged into the board there. Tell them to plug it in next to it.
Plug in next to you. Yeah, just for the break.
Yeah. I could go in there and fix it, but it's
you're good.
Way easier to just do that.
Yeah. 12-0 and what?
You tweeted out after the Suns win that the Kings were 12-0 in games that they had 30 or more assists.
Yeah.
Went back through all their losses since then. None of them they had at least 30 assists. Against the Bucks, 34 assists. First loss of the season that the Kings had 30 or more assists and did not win.
Yeah, it's everything was going well for them. Honestly, like the ball movement was good too. Like I'm looking at the assist numbers. Obviously, Sabonis was 1 assist short of a career high. I'm looking at Malik Monk off the bench. I mean, I think he still leads all bench players in games with 20 points and 5 assists or something like that. It was a good game, man. It was a good game.
Keegan felt like he's been taking a lot of mid ranges recently, and I feel like we've seen that a little bit throughout the course of the year. But
We got 10 seconds.
They don't
till
go
we're
down
back.
great. Not gonna lie.
Yeah, it was so close. It was so close.
It was.
Learn more at gawon'twait.com. That's gawon'twait.com.
Live and local. Live and local.
This is Sactown Sports.
What is up, guys? Welcome back. Brenden Nunes, Frankie Cartoscelli, Kyle Ledbetter behind the glass. Joining you guys today, 9 to noon, talking Sacramento Kings. And we were just having a little conversation during the break here, as I'm very tempted to do my best Chance the Rapper noise.
Don't.
Yeah,
not bad, right?
It's not bad, right?
That's good. Chris will come in soon, and we'll have Jay-Z here too.
There we go.
Our good friend Chris Watkins, by the way, joining us 10 to 11 today. Looking forward to talking about last night's action with him.
Yeah, we were getting into it a little bit there in the break, which anybody on the YouTube definitely can join us in those conversations during the breaks and stay live here. But I was asking you a little bit about Keegan Murray. I feel like he's been playing well recently. Obviously went down in that Bucks game. Still kind of TBD on his status is my understanding. I don't know if you've seen anything. But how have you felt about the development of his offensive game? Like, we've seen the progress that he's made defensively, but offensively, there's a lot more mid-ranges going on. Sometimes to me, it looks like he's trying to do De'Aaron's moves and doesn't look the most smooth with it. But there's definitely been progress. But what stood out to you there?
I mean, I'm looking at the volume. The volume is up this year. He's up from 9.8 attempts to 13. The three-point shot has stayed essentially the same. His last year was 6.3, this year 6.6. So those extra 4 or 5 shots per game are coming from 2-point range. And like we've talked about before, I think last year one of the biggest knocks on Keegan was, well, he doesn't really have a handle. And like I think last year he didn't really need to have a handle because he was more of like a Klay Thompson-esque spot-up option for the Kings where he doesn't really need to put the ball on the floor to make an impact. Well, this year, he's still that. He still can come off DHOs and he still can knock down shots off of, passes from Sabonis or Fox, but he's taking the ball and he's scoring off the dribble. He's wanting to go into post-up situations, which I know we talked about. He jokes with Mike about, give me a post-up. Like, I was a good post-up player in college, which he was.
Coach was legitimately like, he posted up in college? I was like, Coach, that was definitely his most used play time.
He scored 30 points per game. He led the country in scoring. So, yeah. I think that part of his game developing just kind of shows like that side of him. And I mean, he's rebounded more. He's up a whole board per game. He's at 5.5. I wouldn't be surprised if he finishes above that this year. I just think he's been more aggressive and more physical, like strong with the ball. He's kind of jumping in for those 50-50 balls and like those rebounds. And like, it's just
get swatted by Brook Lopez.
He did get swatted by Brook Lopez. And that probably is what got him hurt. He kind of fell on his backside pretty hard.
That makes sense. Yeah.
I think that was like early in the second quarter, or maybe through the second quarter, he fell on his back, I think, on that attempt. So, hopefully he's okay. We have no update on his status. The Kings injury report for tomorrow's game will come out probably like at 4:30 tonight. But no, I think that just the fact that he's able to be a 2-point threat, which I know that the free ball has always been there. He's at 38%, 37% this year. But the Kings really need him to be more in order to like take that next step. Because like we talked about, the Kings right now, and we've read reports and we've heard things from whatever, but like adding more money, it's kind of scary. Like adding another max deal because they want to be able to afford to pay Keegan as well. If Keegan can grow into this guy which they want him to be, and which Keegan has said, we know the Chris Middleton comp, we were joking about it, but that's really who he envisioned himself being. Yeah. And he always looked like this year. If he can be that, then maybe they don't need to go get that, slashing scoring wing. They need to go get someone that's more of a defensive presence in the defensive presence in the paint. But I'm really impressed by his ball handling and his aggressiveness. I'm not sure if that's what you're seeing as well.
No, totally. Yeah, and I know a little weird timing. He scored 4 points yesterday, but obviously he went down. I just feel like we've seen him trying to do a little bit more and expand his game there a little bit. And if these rotations are going to continue to be shortened, it puts more of a load on some of these guys that are the staples. Obviously, De'Aaron and Domas, and I think Keegan and Malik are probably the two after that, night in and night out are going to get a lot of run. Keegan not great at getting to the line either. And obviously there was drama behind that with the Kings yesterday. Are we planning on getting a mic now?
I think we should run it. Should we run the Mike Brown clip? Wait, hold on. Before we run the Mike Brown clip, maybe we should give a little background in case anybody did not see what happened last night.
Why? What happened?
Well, Mike, last year there was one instance where Mike Brown lost his mind. And rightfully so. Why I say lost his mind, like he had enough of blown calls and maybe a lapse of communication with the referees. Well, last year in Toronto, he completely went nuclear and got ejected in the game.
Stormed the court.
They were down big too, and the Kings came back and they won that game.
Yeah.
Last night, very similar. Kings down to the Bucks and down by double digits at that point. Game was going out of their, it was kind of going away at that point, and the Kings rally. So like that's 2 for 2 on Kings coming back after Mike Brown ejections. But after the game, and this is audio only, he sat down at the podium and did something we've never seen before. He brought a laptop with him to show receipts. He went to the microphone to show the cameras what happened, and this is Mike Brown telling us what he saw.
And this is also a beefy clip, so we're going to kind of break it up here.
Cool.
We should have been up the floor trying to blitz Dame, making him take a tougher shot at the end of the game the one that he hit to win it. So we made some mistakes down the stretch that could have changed the outcome of the game. But I tell you what, I know David Guthrie and Brian Forte, great guys, great officials. I don't really know Inte well, but he seems like a good guy, and they're human and they all make mistakes. And I just want to, let me see that, man. I just want to.
So he's prefacing it by like, look, the referees are, human. They're doing the best they can, all that stuff.
Let me see.
There's a butt coming.
Yeah, and he said, let me see that real quick.
Hand me that laptop.
And now the laptop.
Just imagining Mike back in the locker room, just furiously pulling together clips.
The same thing
is awesome. And he had someone back there helping him, but
someone's definitely helping him, because if you see the video, and we'll play the sound in a second, it's 2 clips back to back, but it's just one long video. So they made it as simple as possible for him. Just click the space bar on the computer, click the space bar to stop. Here's the next clip.
Show you guys why I got kicked out of the game right here. This is in the this is in the third quarter, 1:28 left to go in the third. And right here, you can watch, go back and watch. Fox barely puts his hand on Dame's hip. Okay, incidental contact. He didn't push him or anything. He barely puts his hand on there, and they give him 3 free throws. Now, at half, we were down, I think, 19-5 in the free throws. 19-5. And I know that happens sometimes, but that's very frustrating when at the end of the half, from what I get told all the time, Malik drives, Lopez comes over and goes vertical with a forearm down here. Now, from what the NBA tells me, the rule is if you go vertical, you got to have 2 hands up.
So he's now inciting like, oh, they call it on us, but on this one, they didn't give us the call.
And, like we were talking about Brenden and I on the side here, Mike's right, though. Like, that call on Fox with Dame is it's marginal at best. Like, not even really, it's not enough to alter any shot taking. So it's frustrating. It's very frustrating for sure. I don't know if you agree with that, Brenden.
No, I do. And same with that Domas verticality one he's talking about. Like, you could see it after they challenged the call. Every Kings player is walking around with one forearm out and one hand up. Like, what are you talking about? That always gets called. And I just think the calls were so inconsistent in that game. And I don't think that necessarily means they all favored the Kings, but it felt like one moment, one quarter, they're letting them play, and then the next they're blowing every whistle.
And Brown knows that, which is why he continues to the second part of the video.
Because Domas has his hand down here a lot, and they call him for it every time, and they always tell us, well, you got a forearm here. And they said that tonight, they said forearm could be here as long as it's not extended. So I don't know what the rules are in this situation. I need a clarification because, again, 2 hands up is what the rule is on verticality. But they were here, and they said Lopez could do this. That's a 5-point swing. They take away the 2 free throws, and then Milwaukee goes down and hits a 3. And to end the half at 19-5, that's tough to deal with, especially when you're getting told different interpretations on a rule. Okay? So now I go back. They call this foul again on Fox. Now, again, he didn't push him. They said it's supposed to be incidental contact. They give him 3 free throws. Now, watch this, right here. Fox comes off a pick and roll. The kid, Campaign hooks his arm. Look at Fox's arm when he spins off of this. Hooks his arm. He almost falls. No incidental contact. He hooks his arm and almost falls. And and there's no foul. And so to me, as a coach, I'm okay with, look again, boom, he almost falls. And that's at the fourth quarter at the 9:32 mark. I'm okay as a coach because the referees are human and they're going to make mistakes. But you just hope, A, there's some sort of consistency. B, there's some sort of communication between the refs. And the refs tonight, they were great. They communicated with me all night.
And he is going from video to video. You heard him in the press conference, kind of like putting his hand down on the table. He is really trying to drive home that point on the second foul.
And I think we should, I mean, at least on our end, I'm tipping the cap to the fact that as mad and angry as Mike Brown is, clearly upset, he's delivering an argument that is structurally sound,
For sure.
that is level-headed, makes sense. I don't think there's emotions in play.
Yeah.
But they're not altering the way he's delivering this message. And Benjamin in the YouTube is saying that Darko from the Raptors and Mike Brown have set the bar for post-game rants. This is in the same week, too, the same 7-day span. We see
Scotty Barnes is going to be the face of the league.
Yeah, these two legendary rants. I mean, Mike Brown maybe is made a Scotty Barnes is a good player. It made a little more sense, I think, on Mike Brown's end as far as the fact there are inconsistencies around NBA officiating. And at a certain point, there's got to be a wider discussion, because if that is true, what Mike is saying, how he is getting told different accounts of what happened in different rules in the same game from the same staff, that's a very big problem. And I think that Mike has a point.
Yeah, he for sure does. Like, it's just so funny to me that he's like, clearly I don't understand the rules, because what is going on here? And I mean, I think it's very fair. I think it's very fair. If they're getting told that all year long, Domas gets called on that, and then all of a sudden the explanation totally changes. I get the frustration, but it is funny to me that he's also like, I expect them to be clips like from the possession before, not the whole game leading up. And then he just randomly pops early. What is it? Is it fourth quarter? I believe early fourth.
Yeah, I think so.
Early midway.
It was when the game was getting out of hand. They were down, I think, at least by 10. They went down by 12 with 7 minutes left, and then they turned it around.
I think it was about 10 minutes left in the fourth quarter.
So literally when things were at their peak getting bad,
Right.
Mike got ran,
Yeah.
and then went back to do some research.
Well, we got to get to a break here, but after we get back, I do want to compare it a little bit to the Toronto one, because I watched this back yesterday, and I just want to point out some of the similarities before we dive a little bit more into some of the specifics about how these guys have been playing, and get joined by Chris Watkins a little later in the show, right around 10. So stay tuned for continued Kings conversation here until noon with myself, Brenden Nunes, Frankie Cartoscelli, and Kyle behind the glass.
You got this perfect.
Yeah, you're welcome for that.
And then in the comments here, because we're still live on YouTube, we're staying live during the breaks today, everybody.
Yeah, we are.
BCH Custom Cabinetry. Has there been a lineup change? No, there's not a lineup change. It's MLK Day. Everybody's off today. Brenden and I step in.
A lineup change with us? No.
Not the Kings.
Yeah.
We're not gonna.
I thought we were talking Kings.
Oh, no.
No,
But I
I mean,
see.
well, Keegan might be out now. There's a lot of lineup changes for the Kings. They had a short rotate. They were playing 4 guys that were 6'9" or taller yesterday. They're switching the lineups all the
They had
time.
Keegan at the 2.
They went big yesterday. They had to, though. I mean, you're playing
Yeah.
Milwaukee. They went big, though. But that Alex Len Sabonis lineup, it's
I kind of liked it.
it's ring. Yeah, it's that's like my biggest takeaway as far as did Kevin have a great game? Yeah.
The
Did
the
Sabonis?
3
Yeah.
that Alex shot looked like it hurt to do, though.
But is it weird that I felt confident in it when
I
it
felt
went up?
okay too.
Because we've seen these guys shoot after practice every
Yeah.
day, and that's a crazy thing that we forget about these
When
athletes.
you saw JaVale the other day, right?
JaVale was lighting it up.
He's
Well,
Hey,
then he shot one in the
Then
game.
he
and
shot
he
one-
did not
yeah.
light it up.
He shot one. I think it was in Philly, right? Did you shoot one in Philly?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
But-
because they lost the Philly game. Yeah, because he was just throwing it up
Right.
at the end.
Yeah, but at the arena, I mean, at practice facility, they have a game. How does the game go?
It
again?
goes
The
to
contest?
150. I don't know the exact scoring metrics, but that's the one that Sasha got, 132 or something in that
Yeah.
range. De'Aaron gave him a little more credit than I
man.
think he necessarily deserved. but-
Sasha gets in last night, has a couple really good looks, and
and they just don't go
they're just
down.
not falling down.
Yeah.
They're
He moves great without the ball, though.
and it is hard to come off the bench when you haven't played a lot, and
Right.
you can't get to get into a rhythm really quick. But they're really good looks, and I think that there was a couple where I was like, man, trying to break through and get some more PT, gotta knock those down.
Talking about the Mike Brown rant a bit more, the thing that I felt was underrated And maybe why he'll end up getting fined a bunch more is like when he's getting ejected, he ran over, like Connaughton ran him over. He stood right in the middle and took a charge. The ref looked ahead, and the ref totally would, like, the ref would have ran him over if he hadn't looked forward a bit. Connaughton was just going, and he shoulder to shoulder with Connaughton. Like, it was amazing that he just basically took a charge from Connaughton running up the floor as he's getting ready to go berserk on a referee.
And then Malik is just dying laughing.
That's the thing.
From the beginning of it.
So good.
Malik's his face in these pictures, just complete like ear to ear smile. It's so funny in these pictures, man. These pictures of Mike and Malik holding him back are legendary.
Oh, God, it was so good. It was so good. All of it, top to bottom, was just excellent. There's a moment in the clip, and you can't really hear it because it was audio version, but Mike is talking, continuing his point, and he just closes the laptop mid press conference.
Oh, yes.
It was so good. It was so
Mike's got to
good.
be the most interesting coach in the NBA. As far as like he delivers incredible sound bites. He's been around the league for 30 plus years, I think, and he's only in his 50s. Like,
he's always talking about the Warriors or the old Spurs that he's been on. He's coached LeBron. He's coached Kobe.
all the Steph Curry. I mean, he's been KD. He's been a part of so many like
Dwight Howard.
Yeah, he's been a part of so many of these like dynasties, I guess, or been either the beginning or the end of them or in the middle.
Yeah,
just really interesting.
Coached Nemanja Bjelica before.
Yeah, that's true.
And
I think in the Warriors, right?
Oh yeah,
Yeah. Won a championship.
With Belly.
Coach Swaggy P.
Coach Swaggy P.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know he like pulls up stories all the time, and I'm like, wait, Mike Brown was there for that.
Yeah,
but he was like a late 20s, early 30s assistant on Greg Popovich's staff.
Yeah. So you mentioned the most interesting coach in the league. Who else is in this contention other than Mike Brown?
I mean, Pop used to be a lot. I mean, he'd have some really, great. He still does, but now the Spurs are kind of like in the background a little bit. Pop, Darko now. Like Darko
that was an amazing.
That was
one.
in the beginning how he sat down and was kind of like just completely just so discomfort. Like the discomfort is just so there. He's just like rolling his eyes. Come on. Like
there was that one playoff run that Steve Clifford was interesting. There was
Steve Clifford
that year Orlando went I think they had
Mike
like
Woodson. Mike Woodson had the best facial expressions. Like he really had the
David
shock.
Fizdale.
Fizz would get
take that for data.
He's I think he's an assistant with Vogel now. I think I saw. I think he's in Phoenix.
We just saw him the other day.
That's right.
He not too long ago he was like in the tunnel.
I think it was Phoenix.
Yeah, it was King Suns.
And I remember being like, wait, which one is their head coach again?
Yeah, I remember seeing him. I was like, oh, that's where he is now. Yeah. Who else is in this?
I'm trying to think. I just had somebody. I had somebody and I lost it. Yeah.
Udoka?
Oh no, I was in Luke Walton.
There you go.
Gotta watch the tape.
Luke.
Yeah. Alvin Gentry was an all-time.
He still is.
He was so fun.
If anybody has a chance to talk to him for a little bit, he's one of the funniest people ever. And also, he had the 1, 2, 3. He had the Cancun on 3 at the playoff podium.
Cancun.
1, 2, 3, Cancun. He left the podium.
It's so good.
There was a New Year's comment he made on his way out the door.
All right,
That
we
was a
got
fun one.
10 seconds till we're back. Let's talk more about this silly little this Mike Brown ejection.
The job site. Stop by one of our 2 locations in Rockland or Auburn. Trucksmart.com. Your truck's gonna love them.
Sactown Sports.
Check us out on YouTube. Search Sactown Sports and subscribe.
Brenden Nunes, Frankie Cartoscelli, Kyle Ledbetter behind the glass.
You're about to cook up some nickname or something stupid, weren't you?
No.
Okay.
We'll leave the Franco Cardo to Alan Stiles.
Yeah, Alan Stiles, rumored, sources say, to be coming on today as well. He initially wanted the day to kind of decompress, but I think after last night, he's a little fired up. And he's probably
cooking in that trade machine.
He went back on, he's like, yeah, actually, I think I might want to come on today. He might be cooking. He did that. He did the
probably cooking.
Why? Did something happen yesterday?
I want to ask you a little bit about this rant, though, because I went back and watched the Toronto one, and it looks so similar. It almost as if coach is going out of his way for his players to see this. And the question I have to you is, do you think that this is an attempt to motivate his guys? Obviously, he's standing up for them when it comes to these calls, but do you think there's also a part of this that's trying to motivate his guys?
Who, Mike? On Mike's end? Or I guess on both, I guess. But Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think it's a little bit of everything. I think it's a bit of, I think the ejection for sure was to motivate the guys. I think that's like a clear, people do that in a lot of sports. So like baseball, It's a thing that you can, like, a lot of managers get thrown to kind of like try to shift momentum in baseball, and it's like really funny. Last night, like usually most ejections in the NBA aren't like really that, and I don't want to say it was funny, but like, or animated, I guess. Cause Mike, we never see Mike get this upset. Like we've probably seen Mike get that upset like maybe a handful of times. Like there's obviously last year in Toronto, then there's that practice this year. He really got into it with Malik for a second. And then
there was a Knicks game last year where they won actually, but allowed a ridiculous amount of offensive rebounds.
Josh Hart had 15 rebounds, I think. And like, he even went in after him and was like, yeah. Like
and it was a win.
Yeah, a win.
Yeah.
Furious.
Yeah.
Furious after the win.
Yeah.
Last night, though, it just kind of shows, like, I guess he has that in his back pocket if he needs it. If he needs to really fire the guys up, go out there and just get tossed real quick. But I think everything that went into the ejection and last night as well with the post-game rant, I think that was to get the guys fired up as well, but also just to bring more like notice to the league as far as like, hey, this is like a problem. Like the game is not being officiated fairly for both sides. And I think it's a problem that goes beyond the Kings or goes on beyond Lakers, Raptors. I think that there's just a lot of unbalance. It needs to be more balance in the way that officials are calling games, because the thing that scared me the most out of Mike Brown's post-game presser was the fact that he's getting two different explanations from different officials. That's just like, what are we doing here? Like, you guys have the same job. Why do you know it? Why do you know the game a different way than the other? Like, you guys should be on the same page. Like, always be on the same page, looking for the same things. Because that's an impossible game if you're going against two different, ideas of what the right call is. So, a lot went into last night's ejection in post-game presser. It's a post-game presser we're going to see forever. It's gold from a content meme standpoint. Like, there's already just a bunch of great things out there, which will probably be used forever, like as far as the Kings fans go. But yeah, I mean, do you have any other main takeaway?
Do you think it will help? Because Scotty Barnes, right,
is the face of the league.
The face of the league had 2 free throws in that game against the Lakers. Darko goes on his whole rant. The next game, 3 free throws. Progress.
It's a little bit.
The game after, 11. And 11 ties his season high. But like, do you have faith that this will help?
No.
Not really, right?
No.
Like,
I mean, when does this ever change?
Right.
I mean, I think people listening right now that are talking about Kings not getting foul calls, whatever. I mean, this happens to a lot of teams as well, but it goes back decades. Like, people in Sacramento and us as well. And hey, I grew up here. I get it. I was one of those guys too, but saying like how the Kings and the referees and, obviously 2002, everything goes into it. But at the same time, I think the Kings did get to the line enough to win the game last night. Maybe that's not the case every night, but you had a chance to put the game away at the free throw line off foul calls, which were intentional, but you had your chance. You smoked it. Like, 3 out of 4 free throws is just pretty horrifying to go back and look at over the last 18 seconds. But I think that as far as the way that the officials call the games for other players on their teams, like the Giannis whistles were excessive. They're very excessive. Like you said, getting him to the line that much and how much time it took out of that game, the game would have been done a half an hour earlier.
Yeah. And I think they showed a graphic about like total free throws taken, and wasn't Giannis like far and away the number one?
100. So Giannis leads the league in attempts.
Yeah.
He's over 100 free throw attempts ahead of Shai Gilgeous-Alexander.
I really had the thought of like, I wonder if I would enjoy this if I covered the team or if it would frustrate me, because as a note taker, it would give me time. It'd give me time to look into the stats mid game.
You would be able to get a couple pages down.
Might be able to.
You'd be a couple pages down. No, but it really does, like, how do you stop Giannis, I guess, is the question that there is no real answer to, which is, again, is why I still think, though, getting him downhill like would be less detrimental than getting Damian Lillard downhill, because the worst thing he's going to do is tie the game in that situation, or you foul him and he misses a free throw. But the only way to stop him is to get physical with him. And in that sense, you're going to foul him or be whistled for fouls more than not. But there were a couple of plays where it was very marginal contact, getting bumped. Like how many times we see the Kings, like Malik Monk and De'Aaron Fox, get bumped and no calls. In Fox, I will say, to his credit and his point, and Mike Brown's point, he took a lot of contact late in the game.
Yeah.
A lot. I think even in overtime, there was a shot. He took I think it was a 3, completely hit on the arm by Dame. No call. And Fox was going to the referees, letting them hear it too. And again, he's not afraid to let them hear it too. I think he's already at 8, 9 technicals this year, or maybe a little less than that. I'm not sure, but he's not afraid to let the referees hear it. So It's an answer that will probably never come or won't come for a while. I don't think that Darko or Mike Brown, what they did is going to be what causes the NBA to do a deep dive on how they're, teaching officials how to call games. But
A fine though?
okay, that's what I was talking with Kyle about. I was going to mention, like, if Darko got $25K, shouldn't Mike get more for doing? Well, no, but they
I don't know about more. Like,
No.
he justified it pretty well.
I don't want him to get more, and I think he should not.
And he was saying they're great family men. They just made bad calls.
well, that should help. Then. That should help.
He won't get more because this is not going as viral as the Darko one, so I don't think it'll warrant the $25,000 suspension. I thought the jumping in the middle of the court and wiping out a Bucks player in the middle of play might have warranted a fine or something beyond that, because like that's kind of like a safety issue.
Yeah,
that could do
Rushing the ref is probably the tough part here.
Rushing the ref's probably the tough part, but you see the little bit of restraint Mike had when Mike was going full speed at him. He did stop right before getting to him.
Yeah.
Like he is so furious, but he knows he can't bump him. Like he can't make contact. I don't know if the NBA wants to still say he made contact. I didn't see any contact, but he really had to throw the brakes on while still keeping that same level of intensity and being upset. But I don't think he should get more than the $25K. I mean, he really did.
No.
If you think about the same exact thing that Darko did, he was a little more animated in his ejection. But
Darko even said, though, like something along the lines, I'm paraphrasing here, of like, did they want them to win or what? That one's tough.
Like, we won't even show up. Like, we just won't even show up.
Yeah.
Let us know in advance. We won't even show
He's
up.
questioning the integrity. Coach is just saying, I'm confused.
He's like, hey, I'm being told two different things.
Right.
And like, he's even like, you're right. He was very polite again with the way he went about it.
Passive aggressive, I
Yeah,
think, is
yeah,
a better
for
way to
sure.
describe it.
Passive aggressive for sure. But still, if you're reading the transcript only, looks like it's polite.
It does look a lot better.
Look how polite he is talking about how wonderful people they are.
That's sweet. Yeah, definitely can't read the passive aggressiveness there, but it's just frustrating because there is not going to be a clear answer. It's something that we've seen happen far too long, but you know that Mike's going to do it. Mike's not afraid to take the fine. He's done it before.
No.
Mike Brown protects his players and his guys, and he's going to do whatever he has to do to make that happen. Whether it's getting ejected or pulling up your laptop and maybe editing a video for the first time ever. Like that's the way you learn things, I guess.
Did he edit it or did someone else edit it?
Definitely had some
We'll
help.
give him credit.
I think he got some help back there. He probably had
Probably.
someone give him a hand. Yeah,
Malik probably compiled it real quick right after the game.
definitely.
Yeah. I will also just add that I don't feel like him getting ejected ever like harms the team outside of the free throws that maybe come with a potential ejection.
Yeah.
But like, I feel great about Jordy. Jordy stands as much as Mike Brown almost during the course of games.
Yeah,
and when he's out there as the head guy, I'm like, I don't think this makes any difference to me.
He's going to be a head coach within the next year. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
So yeah, you have two head coaches on the roster.
Probably. But we're going to dive a little bit more into some of this road trip as a whole and some of our notable takeaways that have been going on as the Kings continue their season here. So stay tuned for the rest of that conversation with myself, Brenden Nunes, Frankie Cartoscelli, and Kyle Ledbetter behind the glass.
Still live.
Yeah, we're good.
What'd you say? Oh yeah. Well,
Yeah, we're good. Yeah, we got to do the switch thing real quick. Okay, yeah, we're here.
let's see.
What's up,
Palace.
peeps?
Is there a lot of Malice in the Palace talk going on right now?
No, is there? Because that's not. I don't want to make it seem like that's what it was. It was like.
Oh, but they're saying the things that Mike Brown was at. He was at Malice.
Oh, he was at Malice at the Palace. Wow, I gotta
Was
look
he
up.
on?
I think he was
Carlisle's
on Carlisle's staff. Yeah,
Was he really?
I believe so.
Mike's been just everywhere. So Mike needs to have a documentary. Like just talk about all these stories. He's a great storyteller. He's a very great storyteller. Yeah, Mike's only 53, which is insane. He's been in the NBA since.
Let's see. Yeah, no, you're right. 2003, 2005, he was an assistant with the Pacers.
Yeah, I mean, look at that. He went from Washington to San Antonio to Indiana, Cleveland, LA, back to Cleveland, Golden State, Sacramento. I mean, geez, man, he's had such a fun career. And like from a head coaching standpoint, still young. Like 53 is not really that old for a head coach. I think he might be the same age or younger than Spo even.
No, last year when he got hired, I remember someone did a story. I wish I could remember who it was. That was basically like Mike Brown kind of had this moment of realization where he was 52 years old and his mentor, Greg Popovich, didn't get his first head coaching job till he was 48.
That's insane.
So he's
wild.
And think about all of the journey through the NBA Mike Brown's been on before now, which is, you know, he's the same age Popovich was winning his first championship with the Spurs.
No, you're right. And like at that point, Spoelstra, who I was like just speculating, maybe they're close in age. Spoelstra's been the head coach of the Heat for 15 years, and Mike Brown and Eric Spoelstra both born 1970.
Oh wow, I didn't
Jeez,
realize that.
I never would have guessed that.
That's super interesting. But I mean, yeah. So you've got he won the championships with the Spurs, then was part of the Malice at the Palace Pacers, ended up coaching LeBron and the Cavs through that crazy, first era of LeBron in Cleveland with Ilgauskas being their second best player.
I wonder if that's the same time as all the Delonte West stuff.
Ugh.
Like with
It
LeBron.
had to
all
probably.
game.
Had to be. Because
Probably.
LeBron, he was there until LeBron left. Like when LeBron
Right.
left, that was when he got fired. Was
Sure.
like the start of the next
So-
season.
Did Mike technically coach Shaq too if he was with Cleveland?
Yep.
He's
He also-
coached the greatest
with
players of all
Cleveland.
time.
Yeah,
No, keep it going because when he gets to the Lakers, his one season that he was there was the
Steve
Kobe,
Nash.
Dwight Howard, Steve
Steve
Nash,
Nash,
Pau
man.
Gasol Lakers season, which was previously, I think, the record for like worst net rating for a team that finished over. They showed this on the pregame show.
Yeah, they made the
yesterday.
playoffs, right? They made the first round and got swept, I think.
Yeah, they got swept by
San Antonio?
Yeah, I think it was it San Antonio.
I think it was because Dwight Howard had a really good series, but it didn't matter.
Yeah, because that was the year OKC and San Antonio played in the conference finals, so it was one of
can
those
find
two. But they had a super low net rating despite winning 60% of their games.
Yeah.
I think they brought it up because the Kings this year were breaking that record for lowest net rating while winning 60% of your games.
Actually, no, I was wrong. In Mike Brown's first lone season as Lakers coach, they went 41-25. That was the lockout shortened year, and they went to the second round, lost to OKC, who ended up going to the finals. But that was the next year where it was Mike Brown who was fired after 5 games, then to Bernie Bickerstaff for 5, then to Mike D'Antoni.
Oh, that's right.
Then they got swept by. So I think Mike might have missed Steve Nash, right? Did he miss?
No, he could. Well, 5 games. Oh no, because Steve didn't play the start of the
Yeah.
season, so he didn't technically coach Steve. but
Mike Brown's first year.
that was the last year of Bynum, I think.
Yeah, I'm pulling up the depth chart for this Lakers team. Yeah, Steve Blake, Kobe Bryant, Derek Fisher, Meta World Peace, Pau Gasol, Andrew Bynum. Yeah, who had a good year.
That's what ended up getting him
Actually went
traded.
bowling. Yeah.
18 and 11 for
That's
Andrew
right.
Bynum.
I
Didn't
forgot about
he make his debut at like 17 years old, Andrew Bynum?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
That's insane.
10 seconds till we're back.
At the Good Feet store.
For sore feet, aching back, knee, or hip pain, come to the Good Feet store in Sacramento, Roseville, or Vacaville.
Now back to more of the Sacramento Kings Insiders. Here once again, Brenden Nunes and Frankie Cartoscelli.
What is up, peeps? Happy holidays. Sitting here talking Kings from 9 to noon. As you heard, Brenden Nunes, Frankie Cartoscelli. We got Kyle Ledbetter behind the glass. And we just went over a Hall of Fame rant from Mike Brown. And during the break, we're looking at his career. It might end up being a Hall of Fame career as well. But obviously, current head coach of the Sacramento Kings. And there's been a interesting conversation with Kevin Huerter throughout the course of really a lot of this season. It's been up and down, and then you still look at the numbers, and he's shooting 34% from 3 so far on the season. Obviously not great and down from his previous season high that came last year at 40%, but he's getting a rhythm a little bit here. It feels like to me, last thing is that it started weirdly at the end of that New Orleans game when it was a blowout loss, but he got to get a little bit of a rhythm.
Yeah, I mean, look at a very small sample size. Let me start with that. But last 4 games, one of those he left in the first 10 seconds or 40 seconds of the game. He hurt his ankle. Last 4 appearances for Kevin Huerter, 12 points per game, 38% from 3 on 5.5 attempts, and then 51% from the field. So, we're seeing the shots start to go down. Obviously, last night, not his best game of the year, but it's up there. I mean, he had a couple of games of 28 earlier this year, but 26 points on 6 of 9 shooting from 3, 10 of 14 from the field. His first double-double of the year, or I think second double-double of the year, first double-double. Sorry. But if the Kings are going to be at their max potential with this current roster, mind you, because again, we're going to have plenty of trade talk when Chris comes on, and I'm sure Alan's got some trade machine, some concoction ready to go to talk about hypothetical trades. But with this roster, as we saw last year, for them to be at their maximum potential, Kevin Huerter's got to be knocking down shots. Because what made the Kings great last year was the fact they had not one, not but 2, but multiple guys that could knock down threes at a high level last year. I think Barnes, Huerter, Murray, they all were over 38% last year, I think. And Kevin Huerter, again, was the guy who had a career year. So to see him kind of tap back in that last night was huge. And again, timely shot making too, knocking down some big triples in the fourth to get them back in the game and early in overtime to get some separation. Kevin was that guy. And he kind of just looked like last year's Kevin Huerter last night. I'm not sure if that's what you saw, but that looked like last night. Last night was the Kevin Huerter we all got to know over the past year.
Yeah, I mean, he hit huge shots down the stretch, and he's a tough shot maker. Like, I think the thing that I like to point out most that I feel like is an underrated skill of his is how much he's just sprinting all the time in the half court, going through these DHOs and cutting to the basket. Like, he's in a full sprint, comes off a dribble handoff, and just rises up pretty much off balance. Like, he's getting himself set mid-air and is still able to knock it down. It's just so much wrist in his shot. But they have been missing that for a large chunk of this season, and that's led to the rotations being a little bit tough at times. Like, earlier in that Milwaukee game, there was so much variance in their lineups. We talked about them running a huge lineup. They also ran a smaller lineup. At one point, they have De'Aaron, Kevin, and Malik on the floor at the same time. And last year, that felt like a pretty deadly lineup to roll out there. And it hasn't really felt like that this year. And I think a lot of that does have to do with Kevin not hitting the shots at the same level. And he's still a good cutter. He's improved as a rebounder throughout the course of this season. And I think there's some moments where the defense is a little bit better.
Yeah, it's still tough.
It is.
I mean, it's tough for sure. And that's
which is why he needs to hit shots.
And that's why we've seen him fall out of a starting lineup. Like, if you're not going to knock down shots and you're not going to be able to play defense, then what are you doing? Because like I saw someone say on Twitter as well, the Kings can't continue playing these games and getting nothing out of 2 of their 5 starters. And I mean, last night, again, Keegan Murray leaves the game with an injury after 19 minutes. I think that the Kings could have benefited from having him on the floor, especially on the defensive end. I don't know if it would have changed the result on that Dame shot, but got to hand it to Harrison Barnes. I mean, just for last night, as far as him early scoring and being aggressive, obviously he was not even a part of the final equation.
His stat line is still so funny.
I mean, yeah, the rebounds.
It's the 1-1-1 for me.
That's tough.
14 points, 1 rebound, 1 assist, and a steal.
There's plenty of conversation around Harrison Barnes and his spot on this team. We're going to talk about everything today, guys.
Totally.
I'm not saying that. I'm just.
I don't disagree.
Let's get to that point before anyone judges me saying that. I'm just saying that last night wasn't the perfect example of them getting nothing from most of their starting 5, but they've done that or had that happen many times this year, where it's De'Aaron Fox and Domantas Sabonis. And Keegan Murray maybe is having an okay game, and then you're getting nothing from Huerter, and you're getting nothing from Barnes. And that is the biggest problem with the way this Kings team is currently constructed. You're getting nothing out of 2 of your starters. And Kevin Huerter, somebody who we saw the Kings go to Chris Duarte. We saw them try out a couple of different things here and there in the rotation. If you're not going to knock down shots, you're not probably going to play. And last night was a great sign, because Kevin Huerter is somebody who has been streaky during his time here at the Kings. When he starts knocking down shots like that, usually good results follow. Like, it usually isn't just a 1-game burst. So hopefully he can carry that over, because now we're looking at the Kings, who were seconds away last night from having a 3-1 start to the trip. You want to finish, I think you and I talked about it on the air with Chris and Alan, how we want them to finish, I think 3-2 would be ideal.
Yeah.
There's tomorrow for a 3-2 finish this road trip. You don't want to lose, like, also to a division opponent, but it was nice to see Kevin get those shots to go down.
He scored 20 plus in 5 games this year now. 4-1 in those games, with the one loss obviously being the one that just took place against Milwaukee. They definitely need him out there. It's crazy to look at his just basic point per game tally and it be down to like nearly his rookie number. He's at 9.9 right now. Rookie year was 9.7. Last year was 15.2. And his shooting, and also Keegan's shooting, for a lot of this year has not been great. And he's turned that around for sure as of late. Harrison Barnes has his moments. I know I chuckled a little bit at his stat line, but more of it's just comedic. He still does things out there for sure. And of course, as it happens every year, you look at his stat line and he's shooting 40% from 3 on the year.
Well, that's the thing.
He does it every year.
Who, HB?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, he knocks down shots when he gets them. The volume isn't really there. And again, the rebounding isn't there either. And that's the problem. You need to provide something. Like, if you're going to start for an NBA team, I think you need to bring something to the table, whether it's, you're a good defender, he's a good rebounder, he's a good scorer, he's a good shooter. Right now, Harrison Barnes is just kind of a good shooter. And he's on low volume. He's not rebounding to his numbers of previous years. The rebounds are down. Yeah. The field goal attempts are down. So that's kind of like what the Kings, with the biggest conversation about how can they upgrade. I think that's the greatest position to be right now, because Kevin Huerter is somebody I feel like for a sharpshooter type player can go to a bunch of different teams or a bunch of different systems and can work. But having a forward that is underperforming, or I guess not bringing what you really need to the table, because again, maybe that's just not, maybe the type of player that Harrison Barnes isn't really what the Kings need at this point. If Keegan Murray is going to be Keegan Murray, they might need more of a just defensive first presence.
Right.
And looking at Harrison Barnes again, like you said, he's 39.9% right now. It's not that he's missing open shots, and save your insults from game 4. I get it. I get he missed shots when they mattered a lot in the playoffs. A lot of guys miss shots in the playoffs. A lot of people, the Kings shot 30% as a team in the playoffs, which again, that's a conversation that drives me crazy when people bring up the whole Sabonis thing.
Yeah.
Well, people, bring up the whole Sabonis fucking getting bullied by Looney. It's like, okay, maybe he underperformed, but the Kings shot 29% from 3 during that series. And that was HB and Kevin Huerter. So you got to bring something to the table. Right now, Kevin is showing that he's hopefully going to get out of that slump. HB, we'll see if he can bring more, because he has to do a little more than just knock down threes every once in a while.
Yeah, hopefully Kevin can keep it up, like you're saying. I don't know if it'd be more risky to send him to the All-Star game and hope he gets it back, or is that where this all went downhill last year?
Stop.
Not All-Star game, the 3-point shootout, I mean.
Okay.
All-Star weekend.
Yeah. I don't want to. I'm no comment.
He could bring the confidence back, redeem himself. He's not
or
just
becomes
going to get invited.
Or becomes worse. Or just becomes worse.
Yeah, that's fair. Too risky. But as we get back here, going to a break, Chris Watkins is supposed to be joining us. And that's going to continue these conversations that are going on and look back at this road trip, some of the notable trends that we've seen after we get back from a break here.
All right.
Is Chris here?
Is he physically coming in?
I don't know.
Oh, well, I can send him the stream.
Or he. I don't know.
Okay. I didn't know if I thought he was physically coming in.
I did too.
Your mic. Oh, sorry. Brennan, can you hear it?
You can hear it.
Okay, cool. Yeah, no. I can send him the stream also. Also, if the NBA decides, Kevin Huerter is not, qualified to make the 3-point contest this year, because it is a bit selective with who they allow in the 3-point shooting contest.
Invited, to be honest.
If not, I have a compromise. We hold our own special Kevin Huerter 3-point shootout on the basketball court that they put in the Indianapolis airport. That's what we should do. If
that's where that airport is. I've seen it. I didn't know it was Indianapolis.
Have you been seeing all the funny memes? It's like me after tearing like my ACL and my MCL like before boarding my flight.
I love that it was like, it's so perfect. You get to meet a bunch of new friends, go hang out with them, play basketball, then you all go on separate flights and you never see them again.
Such a weird setting. Talk about international basketball.
So if they don't allow Kevin Huerter into the 3-point contest, this will clearly get his confidence back, obviously, is arranging a sham 3-point contest.
Also, I have an update on Chris. He is on his way. He might walk in right at 10.
Totally fine.
And that's totally fine.
Good news, the break's going to end at 10:02, so great. We're fine.
Long break. No.
We'll give him a second. Yeah,
what's the thing about that court in, like, are there basketballs for people to shoot? I think it's just a layout on the ground.
Yeah, I think it's a layout. They should allow you to play on the court.
What a horrible use of space.
Just bring a basketball. Just bring a basketball with you. Can I bring a basketball as my carry-on?
As a carry-on?
Are they going to stop you?
They're going to call that.
That was good.
Dude, dad jokes already on point.
Oh, damn it. Where's the Brennan doing the Chance the Rapper sound when I need it? Come on.
You gotta find it.
Perfect. I had it here a second ago. Anyways, the thing that I think would be really funny is if they I forgot to turn on. Where's the sound here?
Where is it?
There it is.
Oh, it's not bad. It's not bad.
The thing that I think would be funny, so I've been to that airport before. There is actually like a lot of space in the main terminal when you get off your flights, basically. So there is a lot of space to put a full-length basketball court, but it would be so great if they had you check your bag and then you could actually shoot basketball. I don't think you could run games on that court, but if they just let you just shoot around for a while, that would be so great.
Shirts and skins out there.
Oh my god,
at the airport. Skins before a flight.
would be so good.
People were walking by and you'd be like, "Whoa!"
Yeah, I love the joke. That was like me and the homies after running games of 21, and it's a dude like sweating on an airplane when he's on.
It's like, what does that smell? Yeah, what does that smell? No, that'd be great if it just turned eventually into so full. Like they had seats, then they bring music in, and it just becomes like a place to just get running.
Just a 2K like my park.
No, it needs to be in 2K
at the airport. It would be so.
That'd be cool. Just have like airplanes in the background,
and then
I'll pay
like
you for your miles.
like a Sabaros in the background.
Yeah,
and then like say the Cleveland Cavaliers are flying in, you're just playing your game, and look at that, Caris LeVert shows up to play some pickup at the airport.
You want to jump in for a little bit?
That's actually where opposing teams have to use practice.
That's the practice.
That would be so funny.
And their lodging. And their lodging. They have to sleep there as well.
Sleep at the airport.
That's the King's advantage. Well, all those advertisements for the Sacramento airport. Like, can we talk about that?
Yeah, why are there commercials for the airport?
What else am I supposed to do? I need to fly.
Yes.
There's no other airport around here.
I thought it
There's
was
no
so
competition.
I thought it was so weird that last year the commercial campaign was just a bunch of people saying "dang" at stuff in the airport.
Yes.
And it somehow got progressively weirder this year.
I understand you need to like push your business, but for airports, it's like more of a necessity. It's a public necessity. You have to, if you're gonna fly, you go to the airport. Like,
Right.
I don't understand. Like,
Someone in the sales
Nothing
department at NBC Sports California is doing great work if they're getting that advertising every game from the airport.
Are they just worried about people going to like SF and San Jose or something?
maybe
Like,
or Stockton. I don't know, but relocate the money
Yeah.
for that and like I'd use it in a different way than commercials that happen every 5
Yeah.
minutes.
commercials with
Get
a
another
guy
rabbit.
who I'm always working the games here, so I'm watching them on mute. A guy who looks like he's having a grand time reading from this giant scroll as he
Yeah.
goes up the up the escalator.
like a Renaissance fair.
Yeah,
Like,
I have no idea. I've never heard what he
What-
actually says,
what
but
it-
it sounds like he's having a good
well,
time.
I don't know either. I kind of have tuned it out at this point. But is there a theme to the commercial? Like, is he going to a Renaissance fair?
There's just the big rabbit is all I got.
The big rabbit's iconic.
I think we're
rabbit.
all in the same boat because none of us actually watch the Kings broadcast. I mean, you guys probably do when they're on the road, but you guys
Yeah.
are always covering the game.
No, same. Yeah.
The red bunny is iconic. Everyone knows.
Bunny is what it. Yeah.
You take a
It's
picture.
definitely
You
a
take a
bunny.
picture of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You get
Yeah.
off the plane.
Yeah.
Everyone
IG story material.
during the holidays, it's crazy. It's going to IG, seeing all like our friends. Like, oh, they're back home.
Bunny.
Bunny,
Might be
bunny.
in a commercial.
Yeah, I'm okay. I'm okay with those. I think there's better ways you can use that money.
I think that's a good. That wasn't the gripe that I thought you would have with the bunny commercial.
What'd you think?
Or with the airport commercial. I thought it was just going to be how weird they are.
Well, they are. I mean,
They are weird.
it's an airport commercial.
I've just never seen an airport
But
commercial.
you're right. I've never
outside of
seen an
here.
airport
I have-
actually advertising their stuff.
What's up? We're live on the air.
We got 15 seconds. You can tell
Perfect.
them.
Do you think commercials for the airport are necessary?
The commercials for the airport, are they necessary?
Sorry, we're coming back.
I mean, I guess.
Sactown Sports. Sactown Sports. Call or text at 916-339-1140.
What's up, guys? Brenden Nunes, Frankie Cartoscelli, got Chris Watkins here in the building.
Sick rejoin.
I may or may not have did a Chance the Rapper noise earlier, but I don't think I'm
Oh,
going
I
to do a
heard.
Soulja Boy noise.
Oh, you heard it?
I heard it.
It was fine.
It was.
Yeah.
It was acceptable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Solid.
First of
Not
all,
bad.
let's
What up?
address the elephant
so
in the
far
room.
away.
Yeah, let me address the elephant in the room. I'm in your seat. I am sorry.
Yeah. I mean, I kind of more sit like
Center.
here.
I want to
so-
make sure I'm not in your exact spot because I can never fill your
Wow.
shoes.
Oh,
Mm.
that's deep. I appreciate that.
You're welcome.
Y'all are doing great.
Thanks, man. Real quick, because I want to pick this up just on the air before we get into basketball.
Oh no.
And for anyone that wasn't on the YouTube chat, just what are your thoughts on the? And I don't want to make it like an attack, but does it make sense to have commercials for an airport? Because an airport's like you need the airport. Like if you're gonna fly, you go to the airport. But why are there commercials about having people go to the airport more?
It's a valid question. I don't have a good answer
There's
for
no
you,
answer. That's the
honestly.
thing.
I guess maybe if you're just
Maybe they don't
you know,
know.
honestly, I don't know because I was gonna say, I know people will take Oakland and sometimes go to Stockton or go to SFO to fly out, but that's mainly because those flights aren't available from Sacramento. So it'd be different if it's like we're making a bigger effort to fly all over the world. But I don't know. I don't want to bash the airport, but
Have you guys ever been
I don't get it.
watching a game with somebody and they're like, actually, I really want to go on a flight now?
Nope.
Well,
Nope.
maybe people don't know that Sacramento has an airport. To be fair, there might be some person that's like, Sacramento has an airport.
That's watching a Kings game though.
Yeah, these commercials are only airing in the Sacramento area.
Yeah. Well, anyways, Chris, first of all, thank you for joining us on your day off.
Yes,
On your day off.
absolutely.
What Kings fan are you trying to take
I'll
to the airport?
Venmo you.
What does that mean?
I'll Venmo you $5.
Appreciate it. Thank you. Yeah.
Happy to help. Just
Got me working on MLK Day. That's crazy.
I'm
but
sorry.
It's cool. It's
No
cool.
comment.
It's cool.
Okay, what
It's
were
fine.
what were your thoughts last night? As soon as they started missing free throws, because I was telling that Brenden, I just kind of knew. I'm like, well, this is heartbreak written all over it.
Yeah.
And I know you and I have had over the years, we just kind of have talked about
Countless.
You can sense these things.
Mhm.
I'm sure that fans at home watching could sense things as well. Did you know what was going to happen as soon as the free throws stopped falling?
No, I would say I knew once. By the way, my boy Brook Lopez splash mountain hitting that
True,
corner three.
true.
The second Brook Lopez hit that three, I was like, because I wasn't even really. I mean, obviously, when Malik missed those free throws, it wasn't great. But I think at that time they were up 5, right? Or was it? Yeah, it was 5.
Yeah.
No, actually, it was 4. They
Yeah,
were up 4 at that
4.
time.
Yeah.
So I was still wasn't thinking much of it. There's barely any time left. And then, once Brook Lopez hit that 3, I was like, okay, now it's a 1-point game, and I could see how this could end up going bad. But honestly, the biggest troll of it all is the fact that it's Malik Monk who misses 4 free throws. I mean, the Kings missed 5 free throws yesterday, and Malik missed 4 of them. And he's the guy who shot 90% from the line last year, shot 87% this year. It's insane. That's to me the craziest part of yesterday is it's the guy that you would have handpicked of anybody on the roster to shoot those free throws. And he missed 4 of them. And there's no defense for it. I mean, missing free throws is the easiest part of the game. It's the part that, it kind of is the equalizer of us all. I mean, there's a world where you could beat an NBA player in a free throw shooting contest. And I mean, the fact that the professionals can't do it, I understand why people get so upset about it, but it's poetic justice.
Yeah, and like from a free throw volume standpoint, like the only other game that Malik has missed more than I believe 2 free throws this year was last night, and then against Portland in that ugly overtime win.
Oh, the overtime win.
But he took 19 free throw attempts. He went 15 of 19, which is like that's a little under 79%.
Right.
I think you can live with that, but
it's on double the attempts.
Yeah, like last night the game was there. Like they literally had multiple chances to put it away, which is really frustrating because De'Aaron Fox also could at least made it a 3-point game. And obviously when he missed the first one, that was when I was telling Brenden.
We all thought he was missing 1, right?
But the point
to be honest,
but the fact that we have to think that is a problem, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
I agree.
And to give De'Aaron Fox credit, my goodness, he's become this.
He's the reason they were there.
Yeah,
completely.
he was great down the stretch. Great down the stretch. The shot has looked good this year. Obviously, the 3-point shot has been one of the most I guess least talked about, but now it's getting a little more attention. I think Zach Lowe brought it up recently. De'Aaron Fox's 3-point shooting has been great. The mid range, we know it's pretty much automatic when he's on. The free throw shooting still isn't really there though. I think he's still in the 70s, like mid 70s for his career, and that's kind of unfortunate that we have 2 starters in Sabonis and Fox, who again are all-star talents, all NBA talents, but neither of these guys are people that you feel fully confident in going to the line. And that I feel like is kind of a problem that the Kings need to address. And how do you address it? I have no idea. Like we talked about before you came on, Chris, we're at practice and you went to practice, you've got to practice. What do the Kings do at the end of every practice?
The only thing we see at practice, I mean, people would think that we get to see them, run their plays and get some sort of insight when we go to practice.
Nope.
No, the only thing we see, the only insight we have is they take free throws, and if they miss, then they run a gasser, and if they make it, then it's on to the next person. That's the only thing we see them practice, quite literally, is shooting free throws. And so, I mean, for all those people who say, oh, go spend some time in practice shooting free, they literally do. And they do it with as much pressure as you could simulate in a practice environment. And I don't know what to tell you. I mean, all I'll tell you is they miss in practice too. I promise you. They run a lot during practice.
There was in camp. It was one of the first days of camp. Remember we got there?
So bad.
I'm not even kidding.
So
a player needs to make 2 free throws, and then you get to break it down and say, "Cool, we're done." Nobody can make 2 in a row. Nobody. They went through like Malik, Keegan, Fox, JaVale. I don't remember who fit. Oh, I think it was Malik ended up finishing. I think
probably Kessler Edwards,
probably Colby Jones,
Alex
or
Len.
Keon Ellis, right?
Yeah,
Alex Len. But this and I brought this up earlier too, it's like a deeply rooted organization, like franchise issue. The Kings going back to when Fox was a rookie, and not to say this is De'Aaron Fox, just to give you a sense of time. 2017, the Kings are 29th out of 30 teams in free throw shooting, going back 7 years. Like it's insane.
Yeah.
But last
free throws
year,
and defense are the two things we have never been able to fix.
Never.
Are they that important?
Never.
Yeah.
It's overrated.
Yeah.
What's
Both
puzzling?
of those things way overrated.
What's puzzling to me though, last year they were 14th. They were 14th in free throw percentage last year, and like I just am wondering why is the drop off been so significant? Because again, free throw shooting is hard. You can't break down free throw shooting really. Like there's no answer.
Like the only thing I could try and guess is like the physicality they're trying to play with this year,
Fatigue.
and sometimes they do. And
I'll tell you
maybe
what.
that affects it.
Take 15 seconds each free throw, and it seems to help.
I agree. I said the same thing.
Does no one police that? Like I think
No,
I think it's been policed before.
I think it
Only in the
gets
playoffs, and it was
road games.
self-policed by the fans.
Yes.
The fans literally had to count
Yes.
in the crowd to 10 for the NBA to recognize it. It's hilarious.
I think
The
March-
crazy thing is, to me, the free throw that he takes before he even gets the ball is insane.
That doesn't count
He
towards
gets
the time.
2 dribbles in an attempt before he even gets the ball.
Yeah.
and the ref just waits
It's
though.
wild.
It's like the ref
It's
like
wild. It's crazy.
They go like second, like they
Oh, yeah,
hand up, ball here. Wait for him to be
Oh
done
my
with this
gosh.
practice. And like I'm wondering what it's going to be like when they come to Sacramento in March because I want to hear the countdown. I mean the Kings, the
It's gonna
fans
They
happen.
should.
It definitely should.
sellout crowd every night. Obviously we know like the chants and Keegan Murray's, the Sabonis chants. Get a countdown going because
I'll
like,
do it.
it's insane.
I'll
Chris
do
wants-
it for
Chris
media row.
wants to
I
do
don't
it.
care.
It's no, it
It's
not.
crazy.
It's take rooting interest out of it. It's about time. I don't want to spend the whole
I
night
agree.
till
It's
midnight at the
insane.
arena.
I agree.
It's insane.
So
Especially with how many free throws he shoots. Is there any other player that you guys can think of that you're like, wow, this guy just takes forever to shoot his free throws? It's the only guy I can think of where I'm like,
Chuck Hayes.
No. Oh my gosh. Take longer, please. Yeah. No, not really. I mean,
which is like my point. You know what I mean?
Right.
This is the only dude. Why do you take so long?
And it's just a lot goes into it. The
And
2
he's
dribbles,
amazing.
fake shot, and he's incredible.
Gosh.
He's incredible. Like we were saying, like
right?
the foul calls we thought were a little like there was some marginal contact a lot, and some of it wasn't. But it's like the question of how do you stop Giannis? There's not really a way to like stop him as far as like I think Wemby blocked a
Build
shot
a
of his at
wall.
the rim. Yeah, the Stan Van Gundy,
Yeah.
Stan
Play
Van
two
Gundy
bigs.
route.
That's what they
Yeah.
tried to do yesterday. They played 2 bigs, and then every time whoever was in the corner, whether it was Trey or Alex, they just scooted in. And if you watch it back, I mean, it's a lot of Giannis made the right play. He would kick it out to the corner, but
Yep.
Alex and Trey would just sprint out to the corners, and that's how you got to stop him. But even then, I mean, he's going to be able to cook. I think he took like 9 free throws in the first half. So
But you were a fan of that double bigs lineup. Did you like how that double bigs lineup worked?
I've been waiting for it all year. I
Yeah.
mean, I keep saying it. One of the many things Alex Len told us on media day was that he was expecting them to address the rebounding issue that plagued them in the playoffs with playing 2 bigs. And so far this year, we hadn't seen it. And, I applaud Mike Brown for that. Felt like the right team to do it against, right? I mean, Milwaukee is really a team where they're incredibly long. And I think you see with, that new lineup of Malik running the true point guard position in that second unit, you kind of alleviate a lot of the Kings' length issues because now you have Keegan Murray at your 2 guard and Trey Lyles playing the 3. So, yeah, I think it's great.
I'm glad they went to it. It's funny to me how often we're seeing new things at this point in the season.
Right.
But I guess we're
in the thick
just
of it.
flirting with halfway. So, yeah, there's still plenty of way to go here. We got to get to a break. After we get back, I got some rotational questions for you guys about some of these guys. Who's shortening the rotation, which guys deserve to be in it, and which maybe should be a little bit more situational. Going to dive into that after we get back here. Conversation with the Kings insiders.
And
Yeah, real quick
Or-
break.
we break.
Real quick.
Can you send Alan a link? He's ready to join us.
I sent him a link
Oh, you
already.
did?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Alan is ready to jump in, and I'm sure he's got thoughts on this too. And anyone on the YouTube chat, hit the thumbs up if you could, please. We'd love to hear that. See those thumbs ups.
Greatly appreciate that. Yeah.
Alan Styles, Chris's counterpart, is supposed to be joining us any moment.
All right. Cool. What else do we have? We still got 45 seconds. What else were we talking about?
What do you got, Kyle?
One that I'm not going to say on air.
Okay. Fair enough.
Yeah. There's something Chris Watkins said that I thought was funny that I'll tell
Oh,
them.
I have an idea. I know what it was.
Yeah. Well,
I
I'm
know-
sorry.
I
I'm
know
sorry,
it
YouTube
was.
people. I didn't want to bring it up, but I was just thinking back. What were things they were talking about that were super interesting? But anyways, we got like 15 seconds. We'll be coming right back. Hopefully with Alan Stiles. I don't see him yet, but hopefully he'll be here.
Okay, here's the plan. Pass me the ball every time.
This is banking reimagined. What's in your wallet? Terms apply. See CapitalOne.com/bank for details. Capital One NA, member FDIC.
Sactown Sports.
Check us out on YouTube. Search Sactown Sports and subscribe.
Got two of my buddies here, and I think they know about each other.
That's
Just trying to roll with the music.
insane.
Are you
trying to
still-
roll with the music?
Are you
That's
still
insane.
doing
That's
these?
crazy.
Brenden Nunes, Frankie Cartoscelli,
That's insane.
Chris Watkins, Kyle Letterman behind the glass, Sactown Sports. What's going on, fellas?
I don't know, man.
You didn't like that one?
No, not even a
It
little
wasn't a
bit.
good
What about-
one.
No.
It was a stretch.
His chance
I don't
to
like
rap
the
it up?
actual lyric, turning that into this
Yeah,
kind
yeah,
of
you know,
situation.
I get what you're saying,
Yeah.
but it's different lyric. It's
But did
okay.
you like his chance to rap it? Yeah, he did it
It
again.
was good. Yeah, it was all right.
Solid.
I would. You need to kind of like fire it like 5 times.
It was just
'cause-
something light.
Yeah.
It was something light. You know, we'll
Gotta
save
commit.
that for later.
Got to commit to the bit.
Yeah. I have questions about the rotations. There's Mike Brown really cut it to about 9 yesterday. I think it maybe would have been 8 if
Mhm.
Keegan was healthy and didn't end up going down there. So obviously, De'Aaron, Keegan, and Domas. Let's start with, how do you feel about them potentially playing 40 minutes a night? Obviously, it was a little more because it's an overtime game, but if you're shortening the rotation, therefore increasing the amount these guys play, is there ever moments you're looking out there and you're like, gosh, this guy's just tired, he needs to get some break right now? Or do you feel like they can handle that?
That feels like a lot. I mean, that also starts to creep into the conversation of, you know, how much importance do you want to put on the regular season? Because let's not forget that 82 games is just to get to the point in which you really want to be at. And you got to have something left in reserve after that. And I don't know, if you're going to be playing those 3 guys, your most important 3 guys, 40 minutes a game for a better half of the season, that's a lot to ask. And then to have them, again, ramp it up in the postseason, it feels like too much. And if you're doing that at this point already, that's, to me, again, a sign that Mike Brown's saying, I need more people that I trust.
I think we have a guest that's
we do.
that's ready to hop in here.
He may
Yeah,
have
I'm right
showed
here.
up.
Yeah, I think
He may have showed up.
I think we have another guest.
Another friend that knows about each other.
Oh, God. You
I-
stop. Stop with that.
And there he is, everybody.
Alan,
What's up, guys?
Alan Stiles.
What is up?
From the Stiles and Watkins show? We have both Stiles and Watkins in the house. Alan,
Yeah,
how are you holding up, man? You originally said you weren't going to come on today.
I wasn't gonna come on. I shouldn't even be doing this, but there is no way after last night I wasn't gonna at least say something. I know you guys are rocking it out. My boy Chris is in there too. But can I just say, okay, first of all, you know, now that the dust has settled, everybody, objective basketball fans, oh, it was a good game. Yeah, it was a good game. But now that that's over with, can we just talk? It was an L, okay? An L is an L is an L. And you got Dame doing the Dame time. Look, I'm happy for the fact that we got to see a good basketball game and the Kings showed up, okay? But to be honest, I even thought at halftime, maybe it was just me, I was worried a little bit because at halftime, it looked like they very well, and the Bucks were sleepwalking a bit, and I believe the Bucks were winning by 2 at halftime. So a little bit worrisome. I know we're going to talk about the free throws, but you know, you're getting into rotations. I just had to say, and look, Mike Brown, the meme ability, he wasn't wrong. He was not wrong. Okay, but ultimately, you got to make your free throws. 2 things can be true. That's all I got.
Yeah, definitely.
Wow.
I mean, I'm not surprised that you're disappointed with that one, to be honest. That sounds
Well, you know
valid.
what? I'll tell him, hey, man, even Friday was that's a terrible watch experience. I will take a close loss over a blowout every single time. And that's honestly the point that we're at.
Is it really?
No, I hear you. I hear you. But they cannot lose tonight. You can't lose tonight. That's what happens, though.
Yeah, well, we talked about it right on the roundtable before that we're looking for 3-2 on this road trip, and you still have an opportunity to do it. 2-3 is not the worst, though.
Yeah, no, and I know this was like the basic approach, or this was the basic predictions to say that they're going to beat the 3 bad team or worst teams. They're not going to beat the top contenders. They'll beat the two of the worst teams in the NBA, and then they'll beat the Suns. So we're still here. Obviously, it was a quite the road to get here, but you guys are right. A 3-2 road trip, I'll take it. But man,
well, you got fake trades for Bobby Portis ready?
He was cooking. He was cooking.
That was my least favorite part, actually. I was like, why is this guy taking warm-up fadeaways right now?
Started the game.
He might be my favorite player.
Alan, I have a question.
No, Alan, don't do that to yourself.
Alan, I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think it would have been better if the Kings would have just let Giannis get that inbound pass and just let him kind of take his chance getting downhill? Because I think one of the biggest things that was pointed out, and even Deuce Mason had a point this morning on Twitter too, but I watched it back as well and saw that Giannis is there trying to get the inbound pass, and the Kings were really contesting him.
De'Aaron was
trying
working.
to
not let Giannis get that ball.
And then Dame got free, though. And Dame got free enough to where first of all, he was able to get momentum getting the pass. And then once he got the ball, he turned and he was gone. Do you think you would have rather taken your chance, let Giannis get the ball and just see what happens? Worst case, the Kings foul him and he goes to the line. And I know that he's not a great free throw shooter, but I think that the way that the game unfolded, pretty much worst case, letting Dame get the ball and just get downhill. And while it was a tough shot, which again, I think I can't remember which one you said, Paul George. That's a bad shot.
Right.
As Dame would say, or as Paul George would say. Do you think that it would have been better if the Kings let Giannis get the ball and just kind of took a shot at it?
The hindsight is 20/20, but yes, simply because that's what beats you. That is what beats you. Damian Lillard doing that. I don't have a problem. I know people were complaining about the defense on Dame, but he's not as bad as some of these other foul baiters, but that's what he is. He is a merchant. You can't be close to him, and Fox knew that, right? So when he got going, you wanted to stay away to get away from putting him at the free throw line. And unlike the Kings, Damian Lillard actually makes his free throws. So you don't necessarily want to put him at the line. So you have to stay away from him. But to answer your question, hindsight's 20/20. But yeah, I'm taking Giannis and his 60% free throwing and letting him figure it out and just praying that you don't get the and one. Guys, I'm just super confused at the times, and I know it wasn't a set situation, but I know Coach Mike Brown was out, but you don't blitz Lillard, you don't blitz Dame, and that if somebody else beats you, fine. How do you not blitz him there and get the ball out of his hands? That's what I don't understand. How are they not in that huddle and say this guy doesn't beat us? Right? If you and one Giannis, fine. But that guy, that's what's trippy to me. How does that conversation not happen?
Well, and it might have just happened, but with Giannis, right? Kind of like to the point here. But I agree with you. Like, it probably should be Dame in that scenario. Giannis isn't beating you. He might tie the game, just
right?
With it being a 2-point game. But unless out of any and one, and I love the merchant word, by the way, that just
it's
always
great.
Will make me chuckle.
It always is hilarious, man.
He is a foul merchant, okay?
He is.
No, I agree.
I'll say this: Kings can't make their free throws, but they all play with integrity. Okay, they do not foul hunt. I'll give you that much.
They have to because they don't get calls.
That's right. They don't want to go to the line. That's why they don't hunt. That's why they don't hunt free throws. They don't want to go to the line.
Well, and I don't have De'Aaron's numbers up too, but I think if anyone out there that's not a Kings fan, again, because we are, we're working for the partner station, we might be coming at it from what many might perceive as a, homer viewpoint. Like, De'Aaron Fox is somebody that does take a lot of free throw attempts per game. It doesn't feel like that though over like this recent stretch. And I'm looking at his recent game logs. I mean, last night he takes 7. Game before that took 11. Then he took 6 over 3 games. So really, the numbers, if I go bring them all together, De'Aaron Fox free throw line over the past 7 games, he's taken 4 attempts per game. That's not like the De'Aaron Fox that we know. He usually gets in the 9-10 range. Last year, I think he was among top 10 free throw attempts and makes. So I'm wondering what your take is on the Mike Brown post-game rant. Like, do you think that is going, because we just talked about, do we think it's going to make a difference as far as Darko and Mike Brown? Does that make a difference? Because I think what Mike Brown was saying makes a lot of sense and brings a lot of attention to the fact that there's a lot of inconsistencies with NBA officiating. Do you think that those are the kinds of things that need to happen for the NBA to look at it and say, okay, this has to change?
Definitely. But, you know, memes aside, it does make the most sense to do it that way. And I'm surprised nobody has done it before, because it's the new Patrick Beverley. That's what everybody is saying from last season, because it is true. If he's sitting there, he's explaining it. He's saying, hey, this is literally what I'm talking about. Honestly, guys, very different to Darko, who he's alluded to. Are they trying to let the Lakers win or whatever? Coach Mike Brown didn't do that. So I joked last night to say his fine might be higher, but in all seriousness, he didn't actually say anything that should note him getting fired. If you're not allowed to even, it's like anything, right? If you're not able to critique somebody, is there a survey for the refs? Like, what do they do to say, hey, is this a good job or is it not? It feels like there isn't. And that's why coaches and players are saying, these are pennies to us. I'll take the fine if it helps us get to a better spot. But then if you talk to Adam Silver, the game's never been in a better place. So I think it'll help, but I think it'll just get to the point where Adam Silver will say, hey guys, all right, how do we make this right? And how do we fix things? Because it continues to happen. I know there's another guy in the West too, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. He's another guy. He's going to find a way to get to the free throw line. He's a merchant. Okay, so they're growing all over the place. They're like weeds, and if you don't start hacking them down and controlling where they're growing, this thing is going to get out of control.
Okay, Chris, last thing before I want to throw your way real quick before we get out of here. Does charging the court lead to a fine?
No, I don't think so.
No,
I don't think so. No.
All right.
I definitely don't think so.
Alan,
I heard you say that earlier.
Alan, are you sticking around for one more, or do you have to take off?
It's up to you guys.
Please stay for one more. We're staying live through the break on YouTube as well. So we won't waste your precious time, but we're staying live on YouTube as well for those that are listening on the radio. If you want to join us, hop in the YouTube chat.
Yeah. Sactown Sports. Kings Insider Conversation. Brenden Nunes, Frankie Cartoscelli being joined by Styles and Watkins as well. Going to take a little break, but continue this conversation after we get back here.
All right. Oh, wait, let me take Brenden out. Okay, now, all right, we're here.
Yeah, and I had to reshuffle in the middle because my bad if I like distracted anybody, but.
I think you're fine. We were just.
No, I'm good. No, I'm good. I was shuffling around, but we made it work.
I couldn't tell.
Where all of our beautiful faces can be seen, and
we made it work.
Yeah, thanks.
Styles, if you can hear us, I'm leaving you up if you want. We're
That's
just
fine.
we're having fun
here.
No, I'm just saying it for your sake, just so you don't.
Don't miss out on New Year's.
Sorry, just so you don't start saying stuff. Sorry, I left the.
No, you're good.
On. Just so that you don't start saying some heinous stuff, thinking. That
Well, Kyle, you brought me in too early. I was sitting here brushing my hair, and I look up, and it says, "You're on the show." I'm like, dude.
Well, you look great.
No,
that's my apologies. My apologies, Styles.
In the comments, they're asking when are they going to get to meet the baby.
Yeah, not today. She is she is probably getting put down for a nap right now. But
nap time.
Yeah, nap time is gonna hit. Hopefully,
People
it's a long
want her
one.
to come on the show.
What
is that? What people are asking?
They said, stop. When do we get to meet the baby? But it's nap time. When is Alan's nap time?
The nap time for me is coming up here soon. No, we're gonna get out today. Some good weather, so we're gonna, I don't know, go somewhere, grab some food, do something.
So you're not gonna watch the Buffalo Bills, Pittsburgh Steelers Snowfest, huh?
They're not. I've been on a hype, and the prize picks are scaring me. So there's no need for me to watch them.
No,
please, anyone, just avoid that game. If just watch it just for the show.
Yeah, that game is going to be a lot of running, a lot of ground game.
How do you run in the snow? That's the other
a lot of sliding.
Buffalo doesn't have the heated field. They can't even melt the snow underneath the field. It's gonna be ridiculous.
They don't have the coils, the heated coils.
Have you ever seen the clip of like the fans' perspective trying to watch the game and he just can't see anything that's going on?
No,
he's like, "There's a football game somewhere there."
Oh, like in the snow?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, what game was that? I mean, these games are always pretty fun. I think it's actually not snowing though in Orchard Park. I think that it's like it's a matter of the seats are just completely full of snow. Like they were prioritizing getting the walkways clear, but the seats are under like a foot of snow. So if you're going to the game and
booster seats,
you might need to bring bring a tarp or bring cardboard. I don't know. you might need to bring something to sit on because you're going to be just on a pile of snow.
Like, if you need to get there, the Sacramento airport's give you a ride.
But here's the thing, though. So when I was talking, I said they got to get this one tonight. And Chris, I saw you kind of, make a move like you don't think that they need to get it tonight. Am I reading too much into this?
No, I said tomorrow. The game's tomorrow.
Tomorrow.
That's all that was my reaction. That was my only reaction was tomorrow.
I mean,
sure. If they got to get.
No, I mean, I don't think they have to win. Why do they have to?
I'm just saying, man.
Are you saying it's a must win? Do we have our first must win of the season?
No, this isn't the first must win either. We've had like 6 must wins now. One of them was Orlando.
No, you know what? Fine. This is what we're going to do here.
Was a must win?
You know what?
Yeah,
Fine.
after they lost to Charlotte.
I'm just lowering until there's a move, until I see the Woj, until I see Shams. All right, bet.
You're heightening expectations?
Yeah.
Until they trade for Royce O'Neal, these are must-win games.
Royce O'Neal, and Matisse Thybulle.
Yeah.
Will save the day.
I would be so happy if they did that.
Why did they sit them yesterday?
That was
the
very
Blazers
weird.
Guys. That was weird.
All 3 at once.
Yeah,
It was
not catch that.
Matisse. It was Matisse,
Brogdon,
and Jeremy.
Jeremy's coming. The Calvary's coming. Jeremy and Malcolm. The Calvary.
Do you want to do some trade talk after the break? Because we could do some trade talk if you want to.
Hey, this is your guys' world. I'm just reacting here. I'm
Alex Caruso trade machine time. Let's go.
Time to fire it up.
Can somebody sell me on Jeremy Grant? We can do that during the segment, but I just don't get the Jeremy Grant. Like, this is the move that we have to do.
I'm happy to look into why, because I also would like to know.
I would love to know why.
His contract is expensive, but they have a trade exception, so I guess that makes it easier.
I need an answer because I just keep hearing everybody say, this is what we have to do. And it's like, that's a really big contract.
Since last summer. Remember
have to do this.
When he was a free agent, the same thing. People were saying before the Kings re-signed HB, it was Jeremy Grant. Go get Jeremy Grant.
But he is a better HB, but
sure.
He is a better HB, but they've already reported that the Kings don't want a big contract.
Yeah.
So Jeremy's out.
And like Jeremy Grant doesn't do things that the Kings need. He doesn't rebound. He's not a shot blocker like I think people assume he is.
Yeah, because he used to be.
He gets like 4 to 5 rebounds every game. And we get mad at HB for that. And just because Jeremy Grant's also the number one option on his
rebounds
team.
a game, Chris.
Yeah. I wish HB at points in his Sacramento Kings tenure would rebound. Not anymore.
HB is not getting 4 to 5 rebounds a game.
I mean, that's not even good. That shouldn't even be the bar.
It's not.
Right, we're coming back in. We'll keep going.
You have to be there to see it at Thunder Valley Casino.
Sactown Sports.
Check us out on YouTube. Search Sactown Sports and subscribe.
Sactown Sports. We got a version of the Kings Roundtable going on here with just a little bit of some mixed up seats. Got Brenden Nunes, Frankie Cartoscelli, Alan Stiles, and Chris Watkins with Kyle Ledbetter behind the glass. We were just having a conversation in the break about some trade talks. Shocker. With Alan here, doing a little cooking.
Welcome to the program.
And we were on the conversation of Jeremy Grant. I had missed this, but apparently the Blazers sat Jeremy Grant, Malcolm Brogdon, and Matisse Thybulle yesterday.
Suddenly, very suddenly, too.
So let the rumors begin.
And I'm looking at it right now. I mean, Jeremy Grant is a guy that I think if you're a Kings fan on Kings social media, since last year, or even before that when he was with Detroit, Kings should go get Jeremy Grant. In the offseason when he was a free agent, Kings should go get Jeremy Grant. Didn't happen. And Jeremy Grant signed a 5-year, $160 million.
Can you do that math? How many is that per year?
On average,
32.
Yes. Thank you for people that are good at math.
It goes 27.5, pretty much 30, 32, 34. And then the last year when he's 33 in 2027, 28, it will be $36 million player option.
Now, I did a little bit of just quick look up, and you can call it specific stat if you want, but I mean, they're numbers. There are 8 players in the NBA this year averaging 20 points per game on 40% or better three-point shooting. And, of course, that's on 5 or more attempts per game. Those players are Jamal Murray, Kawhi Leonard, Kyrie Irving, Tyler Hero, Tyrese Halliburton, Paul George, Jalen Brunson, and Jeremy Grant. So for a three-point shooting aspect, yes, Jeremy Grant would be, a guy who would fit with the Kings because he can knock down the three. The rebounding is not impressive for a guy who's 6'7", 210, like we were talking about at the break. Harrison Barnes was a guy who was like a 5 or 6 rebound per game player. And he was. Like his numbers will tell you that over his first 3-4 years with the Kings, 5 rebounds per game was usually like a benchmark for HB. That's not a thing. It's not a thing for Jeremy Grant either. But I think that the thing that he would bring to the table most is defensive versatility. He's a guy that is not by any means a lockdown defender, but I think he'd be a better defender than Harrison Barnes or Kevin Huerter if you were to be a King. But again, I don't know how you guys feel, but that's a lot of money. That is a lot of money.
Too much.
How's his free throw percentage?
He's shooting 80% from the line.
So that's
Sign him.
Only 5.4 a game though. He's no merchant.
He's not a merchant, no. But we need a merchant.
All of these Jeremy Grant numbers are him as the team's number one option. Is also what I would warn.
But we saw him play that lesser role pretty well.
It's been a
in OKC and Denver, right?
long time.
I agree.
And that was a lot of money ago.
Right. And the weird part is I thought he was perfect in that Denver scenario.
Same.
And if you want to look at the Aaron Gordon thing, and he clearly wasn't very happy
He was
with
not
that.
happy with that.
So I could talk myself into it because we've seen him be good defensively before. And I do kind of believe that this coaching staff will do their best to get the best version of these guys on that end of the floor. But if he doesn't fully embrace that role, especially at that contract, it's tough.
He's got to be the Kings' third best player.
What he brings, though, and he's got to be okay with that.
He's got to be third best and some nights second best consistently. And I just don't believe that. I mean, at that dollar figure, he's getting paid pretty much what Domantas Sabonis is getting paid. And so, that's a whole lot of money to be paying somebody who better be doing more than just scoring.
And his age. I mean, as a fellow 94 baby, I'm like, this guy's old. He'll be 30 in March. He's going to be 30 in about a month and a half. So like, it really is. Do you want to add a 30-year-old who's making near $30 million a year? Again, like we talk about Harrison Barnes' contract. I mean, I think he's making 17, 18 million. And while he's underperformed, I would say as a whole, we can agree he's underperformed as well as he shot from 3. The Kings need more from that spot. I don't think I'm willing to go ahead and say, let's push the chips on Jeremy Grant when there are other moves I think the Kings could probably make that will be less expensive and probably could benefit them more, because that's kind of like we're going all in for this player. If the Kings are bringing on a $30 million contract, I just am expecting more than Jeremy Grant, who again is from the Portland area. I think he re-signed with them for a reason. They probably took care of him for a reason. They didn't really give him a hometown discount clearly. But I guess I kind of want to pivot to this. Like my next question would be, as we look at these scenarios, I wonder what you guys think. And Alan, I guess we can start with you because we have you here with us today. Are you, from a percentage point, 1 to 100%, what percent do you think the Kings are absolutely making a move?
I mean, the more I wait each and every day, the more I think that they might just ride this thing out. I honestly think they might just ride this thing out. The only thing, going back to Brendan's outstanding article, if you haven't checked it out, check it out, is the Dorian Finney-Smith situation or somebody like that. But guys, it's Groundhog Day with the assets. And now, Chris, I know you sent me something not too long ago. The Raptors, Masai, the price tag is too high. They might go back to Sacramento. It's kind of a mess. And I know we have we're approaching now. I mean, it's January 15th. We're less than a month away. Each day that passes. And I know, here's the thing. It's this weird scramble where all these deals are going to be made. And there's always going to be that one deal that would have happened if they started it earlier, but some paperwork isn't going to get in. And Shams is going to have to retract something because it happens every year. I don't know why these teams wait. Even so, until the umpteenth hour, even so, each day that passes makes me think the Kings might just ride it out. And it's weird because a game like last night, although you're upset that you didn't get the W, in a way, I mean, it's pretty clear here, and we'll see what happens tomorrow night. This was another tough test, right? So you have a situation with the Kings where Chris and I talk about on the show that they've had a couple different tests. They had the midterms, whatever. The first midterms, right, you lost to the Celtics. You got blown out to the Celtics with no Jason Tatum. You beat the Suns and then came back and lost to the Timberwolves without Karl Anthony Towns. These are in groups, right? Just the hard games that are in groups. That was the first time. Now, this second time, you got destroyed on national television by a Joel Embiid-less 76ers, and then you really played well. You played the best you could against the Bucks, and it's a respectable loss, right? Let's see what happens tomorrow night against the Suns. But at best, you're going to come out 3-2, and 2 of your 3 wins are against 2 of the worst teams in the league. So to me, if this doesn't scream that we're just not on that level to Monty McNair for this, and I want to do something about it this season, then I don't know what will. I said, and I'll stick to it, I said if they got embarrassed, which they didn't, but I said if they got embarrassed by the Bucks, somebody that is currently in a Kings jersey would not be in a Kings jersey by the time they come back on Thursday to face the Halliburton-less Pacers. But since they played well, I guess it doesn't matter. So each day that goes by, I'm starting to believe that they're not going to do anything.
Yeah, I mean, I think that we, in a weird way, know that we know what this team is, and that is inconsistent, which is kind of an oxymoron there, but we know this team's not good enough.
Right.
And I think a lot of reasons that teams wait until, the final hour of trade deadline is anybody going to get desperate? And I think that the Kings should not feel like they're in a position where they should be the desperate team. They have a lot of their guys locked up outside of Malik Monk for years down the line. But if somebody else gets desperate, then maybe you could jump on that and take advantage of a lower value. Like even, the Jeremy Grant and Zach LaVine stuff. Like I feel like part of what's not being discussed is what if these other teams threw in a little more? Like does Matisse Thybulle, if that's included in there, change anything for you? If somehow Caruso's thrown in there as well, and obviously that would take finagling to figure out what the Kings are including there as well. But like I think that the Kings don't need to be a desperate team, but if they see somebody else that's desperate, they could try to capitalize on that.
I mean, yeah, I think that would be ideal, but I hear Alan say the, Shams deal that almost gets done, but doesn't. And I feel like that's going to be the Kings. And I do feel like, they're probably, I do agree that it does, as the days go on, it feels less and less likely that a big trade's going to happen. But I just can't imagine that this is going to be the team that they roll out in the playoffs. Even if it is, I mean, they're definitely going to at the least make a Kessler Edwards a marginal move. But to me, it feels like you have to add some sort of rotational piece because you can't bring Davion Mitchell's not going to be with this team in the future. You have to move that asset. Harrison Barnes, I think we all know and have been very disappointed with him. I think we know what we're getting there. To me, you have to move on from that asset. That guy is not the way he's playing this year should not you should not want 3 more years of that or however 2 more years of that. So to me, I feel like there's got to be something that happens.
Yeah, and like the 2 names I'm seeing the most on social media is like Kyle Kuzma and Jeremy Grant. And Kuzma's one that I think I'm actually intrigued about because of his contract and like how it's not a massive contract. It's kind of relatively close to what Harrison Barnes is making. He's making, I think, a little more than 20 million, 22, 23 million a year. But Bobby Marks had a video come out yesterday, and he said that he is hearing that like Washington might not move Kyle Kuzma because you kind of have to have guys there for when you tear it down. When you start building it back up, you want to have players that can play. Essentially, is like what he said. You need to have basketball players on the team. And that's a guy I'm looking at. And would it make the Kings that much better? No, but I think it's a matter of like, what can you get as far as, I don't want to say bang for your buck, but the Kings, again, and it's not about Jeremy Grant's potential or how he is as a player. It's the fact that he's making $30+ million a year. And like, you have really only, I don't know if you have one more slot. I think the Kings actually are looking at it as far as they want to be able to pay Keegan Murray in that ballpark. So like, if you're going to bring a guy on a max contract or near max contract, probably isn't going to happen. So Kyle Kuzma seems more likely. But I agree, Chris. I think that the marginal moves are probably the most likely, but there's no way the Kings can count on internal growth right now. Like we've seen this team, it's been half a season. It's not like last year where this is just great to be here. It's great the Kings are in a playoff, they're in the 6th spot today. It's like, no, that's not enough. Like they made it to the first round. They lost in 7 games. They want to advance. They can't do it with this current group, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think that's very understandable. Well, thanks for taking the time, Alan, on a day off. Appreciate you for joining us, man, in this little reverse roundtable of
thanks
sorts.
Thanks a lot. Thanks, man.
Oh, hey, thanks for having me, guys. You guys are rocking it out. Chris, I will see you tomorrow. Kyle Kuzma, surprisingly, guys, 78% free throw shooter. Do with that information what you want. Enjoy the rest of your show. Keep doing your thing. Kyle, thank you as well. We will talk to you tomorrow. All right, guys. See ya.
We'll see you Wednesday for the next roundtable.
See you Wednesday for the real deal. And you better come with some trades. I'm not playing.
All right, we'll bring them.
And we're going to keep going here on our end for a while. Got, I believe, one more session with Chris here that we're going to dive into some more of this. Again, I still got my rotation questions. Didn't get him out because Alan's over here cooking. So I like how we blame it on him, but I think we definitely started that one. Sactown Sports, Kings Insiders Conversation. Brenden Nunes, Frankie Cartoscelli, Chris Watkins. Be back in a bit here.
Are we off the air?
Yes.
Okay, now I can move back to my other seats.
Yeah, go for it.
Don't mind me, everybody. Just loud.
I don't know. I kind of like the ambiance. That was kind of funny to kind of mix it up in there.
Behind the scenes.
Behind the scenes. Yeah.
I'm not sure everybody else in the chat feels or anyone watching, but
I don't know. Talking about Jeremy Grant again always, lights people's mood because it's the same point again. It's that he has a big contract and the Kings would have to compromise some of their long-term flexibility. And
that's the thing, though. That's the thing. It's all about long-term flexibility, and that's what we've read from guys that are super plugged in, like Sam and like Sean's, I think Michael Scotto with Hoops Hype. Like the Kings don't want to add big contracts.
I just don't understand too, because I mean, what would make Jeremy Grant specifically worth that kind of risk? Like, what's the difference between Kyle Kuzma and Jeremy Grant as players?
I think it's just the length of contract. You're right.
But my point is, like, I mean, the contracts are so different that it's like, why wouldn't you? Like, Jeremy Grant is not a value proposition.
No, I get that.
Right.
And the thing that's also interesting is, like, so you mentioned Keegan Murray, which I haven't heard very many people talk about that other than Frankie just bringing it up right now. But the thing that I thought was interesting also is if Keegan Murray is now 3 years away, so like this year plus 2 more away from a contract extension, do they prioritize, if they do bring in a forward who's making $25 million a year, do they want that off the books by the time that Keegan's contract comes around, which is something I hadn't really considered or heard a lot of people considering until you just mentioned it
like
a second ago.
How they have to pay him?
Yeah, like if they bring in Jeremy Grant, obviously his player option would be in Keegan's 6th season. So by that point, it would be reasonable that Grant, I mean, maybe they've traded Grant by that point, but like it's reasonable that they want whatever player they bring in the contract to be either off the books or like with an expiring contract by the time Keegan's extension theoretically kicks in.
No, for sure. And like with Washington, though, like a guy we could talk, I mean, we don't have to talk about him specifically.
Marvin Bagley.
No, yeah, Washington, that guy will change everything. Like if they're trading half a season of Tyus Jones and it's not that much, I would take a flyer on Tyus Jones.
I was talking on Friday about there's like 4 or 5 guys on Washington.
Gafford?
Funny enough that they're trash, but there's like 5 guys on Washington that I would be like, they could make the Kings significantly better tomorrow. Daniel Gafford, you give me Denny. Oh my goodness. That's doing something. Tyus Jones, you got Gafford, you got Kuzma. I'm not the biggest Kispert guy, and I feel like they kind of want to keep him around. But even a guy like Corey Kispert, I'd take.
Yeah,
he's actually been a very good shooter at the NBA level. Like I don't know.
Did anybody get caught off guard, by the way, the other day when Joe Harris walked out there for the Knicks?
Yes.
Like I knew that was a thing, but I was like, oh yeah. They don't play him at all, huh?
That was so funny.
I mean, with the Pistons. Was it the Pistons?
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, I don't know what I said. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I was like, oh, Joe Harris is on this team. Like, this team has like people that were guys, like they used to be guys.
You know what gets me every time, and it happened again when they came to Sacramento. Seeing Joe Ingles in Orlando is so weird. I'm just like, what are you doing here? You only belong in Utah, and occasionally that one time you were with Milwaukee. Like, it just doesn't make sense that Joe Ingles is contract chasing.
Were you guys thrown off by Andre Jackson Jr.?
Yes.
I was definitely like, that's Justin Jackson.
I kept thinking when he was turned
2 or 3 different times.
Yeah, I thought it was Justin Jackson a couple times. Yeah. I think he might have been.
He was on a buck.
I think he was 44 too.
He was. Yeah, exactly.
Or was he in college 44? I don't know. But
yeah,
where is Justin Jackson?
15.
I think he's a champion.
Number wise, he is. He won with the Bucks.
Yeah, never forget that game where it was Justin Jackson versus the Warriors, and he was just giving them buckets.
I could not stand Justin Jackson on the Kings. I did not for a second think he was going to be an NBA player.
The last time I saw him, he was on the Texas Legends.
You are still correct. He's still there.
There we go. And he, a champion.
He cooked with the Celtics.
Champion in college and the pros.
Yeah,
the Celtics sneakily bring in a lot of Kings. Nick Stauskas, Neemias
Nene,
Queta,
yeah.
Justin Jackson, Isaiah
What are they cooking
Thomas.
over there?
Okay, we got 15 seconds left. You want to do rotations next?
Yeah.
Go.
Sure. Yeah, that works
Your
for me.
question?
Yeah.
Last segment with
I
Chris.
was watching JaVale Shaq in full highlights last night.
.com/credit and get $75 towards your first sponsored job. Terms and conditions apply.
Live and local. Live and local.
This is Sactown Sports.
Sactown Sports, Brenden Nunes, Frankie Cartoscelli, Chris Watkins. I'll hold off on the Roddy Rich puns this time around.
Please.
Didn't go over well last time.
Did not.
You know,
Please.
Did not.
we're talking about some. See, I'm trying to work in high fashion now, and I don't like
No,
it.
just talk about rotations. Bro.
All right, we're
Really
getting into the
putting yourself in a
rotation.
Stick to
box.
sports,
I know,
Brandon.
I
Stick to
know.
sports.
Nice, Kyle.
That
Really
was a
putting
good
yourself
one.
in a box.
Was a good one. So I have some rotational questions. I've been trying to get them off my chest for a little while here. But if coach is in fact shortening the rotation the way that he seems to be, and there's been a lot of changes over the last couple games and things he's going to continue to play with, who deserves to be part of this? We talked a little bit about how that would mean De'Aaron, Domas, and Keegan playing more run, obviously. And let's just say it's the typical starting five, Kevin Huerter and Harrison Barnes. After that, Malik Monk's an easy lock, right?
Yeah.
No questions asked.
I would say I would put Malik and Trey.
I was going to
before
say
put
Trey, right?
Before I put the other two starters in there. I mean, to me, Mike Brown has made it very clear these last couple games. His five that he's going down with is Fox, Monk,
Keegan.
Trey Lyles, Keegan, and Sabonis.
Yeah.
That's definitely his first five. He's picking off the list. And you know, HB's had a couple, as I've pointed out, 13-minute game, 18-minute game. Kevin Huerter himself has had a couple 18, 13, 10-minute games. So the list honestly might stop there.
But it has to go further because this is like just how the NBA is, right? Like you have to play more guys. But to your point, like that's the issue, right? Coach got asked about Sasha a while ago and him not playing that much. And he's like, well, honestly, nobody's really separated themselves. And I feel like after who we just listed, nobody has separated themselves. But first, like I think you need a backup point guard and you need a backup center.
Sure.
And let's do the point guard
Malik Monk
conversation
is the
first
backup point guard.
because it's finally been Malik Monk. And that always seemed like the obvious thing and it never happened. So if your options are Malik Monk, Keon Ellis, Davion Mitchell, Kobe Jones, give me your 1 and 2. Like your preference of backup point guards.
Got to be Malik 1.
Yeah.
I think the problem is 2 is whoever
so much
is your
worse.
favorite flavor of ice cream.
Is it Chris Duarte? Is it Keon Ellis? Is it neither of the two? And you just kind of like, again, Keegan played some too last night before he left the game. Like the Kings were in that big lineup.
Right.
That's the thing. Like last night, Keon Ellis, Chris Duarte, Davion Mitchell, the other Kings guards didn't play. So like in a situation that's not Milwaukee where the Kings are going big, like tomorrow against Phoenix, I would imagine the Kings run they don't run the double big lineup. As fun as that was.
I think they should.
I do. I agree.
I think that should just be their lineup. I mean, I think too many times we've seen length has killed this team, and we've seen length can be a massive advantage. Like why? Like my question was honestly the other day. I was watching Keegan Murray play, and I was like, besides the ball handling, how is Keegan not just like a really big 2 guard?
Oh, he could totally be a 2. And I think you are what you can defend, and I think that's what can be tough with the double big lineup, though.
And they've said that before.
Sure.
Mike has said that he thinks Keegan can play the 2. Kind of what Klay Thompson does with Golden State. He's like a 2-3 hybrid. Like I think Keegan's like a 2-3-4 like hybrid, really. So
I like that. I mean, for me, if I'm doing a bench unit, I know that's just a different version of your 5 and always, but I think that's where this team is at. I think it was supposed to be a team that was full of depth. I remember all offseason saying, I think the Kings are going to be one of the deepest teams because on paper, it felt like they should have been. But the reality is, I mean, like you said, Duarte's either starting or
not
getting DNP CDs. Sasha's only getting in on random games where you can't pinpoint. And I mean, I guess to finish the initial conversation, I would say Alex Len has probably been in my opinion, like if we're taking Malik and Trey off of the bench board and putting them into the first 5, I think Alex Len has been the best of the rest at that point.
I think that it should be Malik as the backup point guard. and it should be Alex as the backup big. And I don't think it's particularly close.
No.
In my mind, even you look at the on-off numbers, JaVale minus 3.6 in his 259 minutes, right? 109.5 offensive, 113.2 defensive. Alex Len's numbers are really good. They have a 24 net rating in the 136 minutes that he's played, like half the minutes. Obviously, Alex missed a long time with that ankle injury. 125 offensive rating, 101 defensive rating.
Wow. That's incredible.
And again, this is small sample size, 136 minutes, but like,
I mean, that's not nothing.
I feel like you feel it when he's out there.
Absolutely.
And he did this last year too.
That definitely tracks the eye test. I mean, it feels like when JaVale's out there, you know, there's some minutes that are better than others.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel like he ultimately kills them, but it doesn't feel like he's ultimately helping them. And with Alex, it has felt like when he's out there, you feel his presence. You at least feel how big of a dude he is.
He crowds the paint. He can, I mean, I don't want to say he's a rim protector, but he is definitely someone that you can't just go over easily. I mean, he's a very big guy. Like, it's Alex Len. And like, even looking at his rebound numbers, he's playing like less than 15 minutes a night. The most minutes he's played since coming back from the ankle injury is 15 minutes, but the rebound numbers are there. Like, his per 36 rebounds, I don't have them in front of me, but I'm looking at these 12, 11, 10 game or 10 minute spurts, 4 rebounds, 9 rebounds, 10 rebounds, 5 rebounds last night. He's getting boards. He's hitting hard picks, which again, when you have Sabonis and Len, if you have Sabonis and Len out, like, those are two very good pick setters. Like, that's going to help your offense, especially for Malik Monk, who is a big pick and roll guy. I think that this is something that should have been the case the whole year. Obviously, Alex Len missed time, so maybe it would have been. And last year we saw the Kings had to go back because there really isn't that much of an alternative. But no, I agree. I think Malik should be the backup point guard because he's a guy that's averaging almost 6 assists per game, probably among bench leaders in assists per game right now, or NBA leaders, really. And then I think Alex Len should be out there every night coming back behind, you know, backing up Domantas Sabonis. As JaVale McGee, we've seen there's a lot of good, a lot of bad. More bad than good, though. And that's not a knock on JaVale at this point. But, I mean, I don't think he was brought in to be an every night player. I mean, he's 36 years old. I don't think he's brought in to be that guy. I'm looking at also just what the Kings would do at the backup, too, because if you do make that shuffle, do you just run an 8-man rotation? Because that kind of was what the plan was, I think, until Keegan went out. Is it an 8-man rotation? Because Mike likes to go 10 deep usually.
So. Right. I think he'd prefer to. He just, like, who's he supposed to go with? Like, say you need a defensive wing, like you want to just throw something in there defensively. There's 3 options currently. There's Chris Duarte, there's Juan Toscano-Anderson, there's Kessler Edwards, and none of those sound like good options. This is obviously where we're at
Mike
this
likes
point.
JTA.
He does.
Clearly, that
right?
would be his preferred choice, which is also
Or
telling
it's
because
just
that's
like,
the guy who's on a 10-day.
Right. I mean, it could just be like, well, we got to see what we got with him now.
Sure.
Like,
yeah. No, absolutely.
I don't know. If I'm Kessler Edwards, I'm really annoyed I lost my 2 possessions a game.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's waiting for that back. But I don't know. I'm looking at that just kind of the same way and just wondering, tomorrow will be intriguing to see what it's like. I mean, from a matchup standpoint, it's going to be something the Kings haven't seen yet. They haven't seen the new big 3 in Phoenix. Like, does that change the way that Mike does his rotations? Is Keegan available? We'll know more. Again, the injury report should come out at 4:30 tonight. We'll see if he's questionable. I would imagine he'll be questionable for tomorrow in Phoenix. I'm just intrigued to see what it looks like. And especially if Keegan can't go tomorrow. I mean, does that throw Kevin Huerter and Chris Duarte both in the same starting 5?
Oof.
Little intriguing. But I do think this rotation is going to look a lot different after the deadline. I can't help but think it's going to look a lot different.
Hopefully. I think that there's reason to believe that would potentially be for the best.
Yeah.
I guess is what we can say, because we know he would prefer to do a 9-10 man lineup, but kind of being cornered into 8 currently, and I understand it. Chris, thanks for hopping on, man. Appreciate you.
On a day off.
Taking the time.
On MLK Day.
Yeah.
We're crazy.
We appreciate you.
Trooper.
Sorry.
Trooper.
Coming to get my check.
I'll Venmo you. I will Venmo you a few dollars.
Thank you. It's
After
appreciated.
Got you.
we get back from a break, we're going to play a conversation that Athletic Insider, super plugged in with the Kings, had a conversation. Sam Amick had a conversation with Jason Ross earlier with some good bits in there. So going to play that one after we get back here, and then we'll discuss what has been told. Listen, Pascal Siakam talks and a little bit more in there.
Cool. We're clear. Yeah, real quick before you go, Chris, I'm curious because we were talking about this earlier. What do you think about the basketball court at the airport thing in Indianapolis?
It's hilarious. It's absolutely hilarious. I mean, that like you're asking for a lot of trouble. if it truly is like a real pickup court, it's going to be a problem.
Wouldn't you just bring a basketball with you to the airport? If you
Yeah.
knew you're flying out of Indianapolis,
Yeah.
I'm bringing a basketball. If they confiscate it, sure, but
Yeah.
I'm gonna get shots up.
I'm pretty sure you're fine. I mean, I had a friend who saw Davion at the airport, of course, and he had a basketball. So I'm pretty sure it's totally allowed to travel with. I'm pretty sure it's just.
Davion's a little different than.
But
I
Frankie
mean, I
Cartoscelli
don't know if
walking
anyone's
into the
looking
airport.
at Davion Mitchell and saying NBA player.
Like, dude, I work for the radio station. I can shoot here. Okay.
Whoa, hey yo. That's another thing. Is you got to watch out what you say out there.
I know.
You gotta be careful.
Oh, at the airport. At the airport.
Yeah.
I
You
can.
gotta watch out.
I can attempt to put the basketball in the basket.
You got to stay real fundamental with your words.
I can
Get shots up. What?
Whoa, excuse me, sir.
Excuse me.
that was one of the jokes that was going viral on Twitter. It
Absolutely.
was me explaining to the airport security why I was talking about getting shots up at the airport.
So Davion he would be the guy to carry a basketball around, but
Absolutely.
he's done that like at summer league and stuff too. He's had a
He would not have
basketball.
sleeves on.
Yeah.
Oh, no
Would not have
sleeves.
sleeves
That's
on.
fun.
No sleeves on a plane is kind of crazy.
No sleeves on a plane.
That's like on Curb Your Enthusiasm. There's a whole thing on Curb Your Enthusiasm about like how you should dress on a plane, like and wearing shorts. Like wearing shorts, he said like Larry David's like, oh, that's like I want to sit next to your bare like your legs the whole time. Like we're on an airplane. Like come on. Like,
Yeah, that's fair, but what's the deal with sleeves?
well, sleeveless.
Well,
like,
Davion just never wears
He
sleeves.
never wears sleeves.
Okay.
During summer.
Even his warm up is like
Never.
cut,
Yeah.
unlike everybody else's.
Good for
Grind
him.
don't stop.
that's true. He does work out like in just or pregame
Sure.
warm up in his just jersey.
Yeah.
Just a jersey. It's like
That is true. I've never thought about that. That is so weird.
No
Wait, so
sleeves.
he's the only one who's like dressed differently when they're going through warm-ups?
yeah, like
He
he
doesn't wear his like warm up shirt.
Oh, okay.
As soon as they come out the tunnel, like he just takes his warm up off immediately, and then he warms up.
But
in his,
does he still wear the sweats?
yeah,
Interesting.
Dude,
sweats.
Davion would have looked like LeBron with the sleeve jerseys. He would have done that same thing. He just would have like torn it up and
well, and all the
looked all ridiculous.
in all the post game photos, I laugh sometimes because it reminds me of because I was a bench player in high school. I didn't play at all, but we would take post game photos sometimes, and I would take off me and my other buddies are on the bench. We take off our warm ups, with the jersey on, and all the post game photos. Most of the guys have like their warm ups off, and I'm like, I'm just taking off their warm ups because I know sometimes you get in during garbage time, but sometimes the Kings don't let everybody get in garbage time, and the guys still like take off the warm ups. Like I don't know, like taking a picture.
It's a really funny idea, actually. Taking off your warm up for the post game picture.
I played today too.
Fours.
Yeah, fours.
Wait, did you guys
Fours.
see Thanasis getting roasted? Because after the game, everyone did the this thing, and he was like covering his face in the photo.
No, he was like he had like two hands up. He was like boxing.
He had
in
no
the
clue what
photo.
it was.
Yeah,
probably.
he had no
Yeah.
idea.
Yeah, kind of the same thing as that. Just Frankie's story of being a bench
Right.
player reminded me of that this morning.
It was funny. It was like, me and my buddy, shout out Derek. We just be like, take a
Shout out
picture.
Derek, bro.
We got it in the game.
Put some water on your face.
Yeah.
Like you're sweating a bit. You
Yeah,
know,
me and my
nothing crazy.
1 point that I contributed.
Anyway,
You
this
and
whole
Stephen A.
conversation started because I was saying
I thought about that too.
if they don't invite Kevin Huerter to the 3-point contest because of performance this year, we just hold our own Kevin Huerter 3-point contest at the Indianapolis airport.
Dude,
I think
that's
Kevin
the thing.
Huerter's suspended from all 3-point competitions.
Yeah, that's what I was like,
I
would
think
it
he's
be
I
good
think,
to get him
yeah.
back out there,
And
or is this?
I think it's like
scary?
Mike. He like threw his
Yeah,
sneakers
yeah.
up on the.
What if it's like a reverse curse thing?
You just got to call it a day.
It's
at
what?
that
It's a
point.
reverse curse. We gotta just
We won't know until we find out.
set up a
Nah.
Kevin Huerter specific 3-point contest.
Y'all weren't in the building. Y'all don't understand.
True,
Me and Frank
actually.
were in the
True.
building. We saw it with our own eyes.
You mean when he shot worse than Kevin
we were
Hart?
supposed to write about it. Like, I'm like, how am I supposed to write about that?
Yeah, I remember I was filming it and I was like, "Oh, he missed." Okay, wait, no, I'm just gonna. I think, and then I literally posted I think he hit 2 in a row,
He hit
and that
2
was
in a
the
row.
only thing he hit. And I posted those 2 in a row, and I was like, "This is all I got to work with, man."
Brenden and I
It's
write
crazy.
a lot, so you know, but I did enough just to hit the SEO, like enough to just
For
get. It was like
sure,
250
for
words.
sure.
Just like a lot of that was like the upcoming schedule.
Yeah.
The NBA 3-point shootout happened. Kevin Huerter was there.
We were there.
You can check out the next 5 games
Yeah.
of Sacramento Kings basketball right here on Sactown Sports.
Also, I'm going to tell you some of my hobbies, so I can click my word count. I went to the movie theater last week. It was great.
Oh my
The
gosh.
soda I bought at the concession stand was about $8.
It was discounted. I am a movie member. I am.
I am
Great
getting.
investment, by the way.
Have you started getting the All-Star emails yet?
I did.
Dude,
Yeah.
I'm getting PTSD because I'm looking at like the locations and stuff, and I noticed that half the events are happening. They have it split at 3 different places. It's going to be at the Pacers Arena, at the football stadium and at a convention center.
Well, I told, again, our boss, because we were going over budgets, like what we want to do, but I did say, like, I'd rather not do All-Star, which we're not going All-Star.
Yeah.
I'd rather save it for the, if the Kings win the playoffs.
Right.
I want to be able to go to those road games. So, like I said, we went to All-Star last year. It's not.
Indiana, I'm good.
In fairness, I think the convention center is like right across the street, but this football stadium's a little out of the way there. That's kind of wild that they're doing that.
Sacramento's official home for the San Francisco 49ers.
Touchdown! San Francisco! Sactown Sports.
Sactown Sports. Call or text at 916-339-1140.
Sactown Sports, Brenden Nunes, Frankie Cartoscelli. Still got Chris Watkins hanging out a little bit here, but we're going to get into a conversation that the Athletic insider Sam Amick had with our buddy Jason Ross earlier in the week. Plenty of good Kings conversation in there. Some talk about Pascal Siakam. That was obviously a hot topic recently, and plenty more details. So going to play that here for you guys now, and after the fact, we'll dive into some of the specifics there.
You're also down there, you said like 3 games in a row, basically. The Raptors were in town. They're a story. They were a story here. They were a story when they went through the Warriors, and mainly the story is Pascal Siakam. What did you learn about him as those rumors with the Kings, maybe Warriors, others? What's going on with him and his future with Toronto?
So it was a funny experience because with Toronto in town, and I wrote this part, but like you're in real time, and you know how we all sit around pregame talking to different people. Crypto, which I now have begrudgingly started calling it, formerly Staples, like at the sideline of that Lakers Raptors game, there's just a lot of media, a lot of agents, a lot of front office executives. And I kept making my way down the sideline saying hello to different people. And it cracked me up because while Siakam was doing his warm up on the floor, like it seemed like damn near every person on the sideline was talking about him and his future, and having their opinion. And some of the people are people who are actually involved in his situation. And so what I learned is that, for one, I'll start here. The prospect of him signing an extension with the Raptors is not off the table yet. It's a pretty unique situation because it seems clear that they're ready to move on from him. But if the market is so underwhelming that they're going to have to take pennies on the dollar, then there is a scenario that exists where they might ultimately have to, pay him out and then maybe trade him, sign and trade later this summer if they want to. I just think that, they clearly haven't been offered enough to make him go ahead and hit that button. But as it relates to the Kings, it was not great news. It was the idea that that number one, he's planning on hitting free agency and looking at all of his options if he's a free agent this summer, as expected. But more specifically to the Kings, that he's not excited about that possible situation, and would very likely not resign. So I will say, things change in this league all the time. Fans understandably and predictably brought up the Chris Webber comparison, which is a good one. It really is. I mean, that does apply. If Siakam came here and absolutely clicked with Domas and Fox and had a good run, because I will say, to make this part clear, if they go ahead and roll the dice and he's a King, like my full expectation would be like he's a professional, like he's going to have the jersey on and play his tail off. So nobody's trying to say he's not going to show up and ball out. So from there, who knows? But I do think there's it's not a market thing per se. There is a specific element with the Kings that it just doesn't have him excited. So that'll be part of their calculus as they decide what to do here.
Yeah, I'm interested in that drilling down on that, Sam, because in the past it made sense for people why they wouldn't want to come here, and not that it's all solved in one season, but it does seem it's way more appealing than it's been, from the arena to the style to the success they're having to the degree. But do you think any of it for Siakam, who's been an all-star and a really good player, if he came here, I don't know that he's featured player 1, may not even be featured player 2. And as Keegan grows, if he stays here, he would be a really important part of the piece, but may not be the piece. Would that be any of his reservations at all?
I don't admittedly have full clarity on what they are, other than I think, with players like this and teams like the Kings, you're going to be constantly, courting or recruit. Not recruiting is the wrong word, but like considering adding. I mean, teams are constantly thinking about adding good players, right? I get the sense that, behind the scenes, some of the communication that has unfolded to this point just hasn't landed in the kind of way that has him fired up. I'll put it that way. And partly choosing not to share everything, but admittedly partly not knowing all of it. But there's, it's almost like you go into a party and you got a buddy of yours who you're talking to and you can't figure out why they're just not vibing with this other friend that you like. You know what I mean? Like what is something happened here? So it's a little strange. And it's also that time of year where, the power games are happening. So beyond the Kings, I think that Siakam's camp is, they are looking at which pathway can we guide him toward to secure a full max, which is what he wants. And it's not just the money. My understanding is in his talks with the Raptors about an extension on the money side that they have been at the max level. It's more the years and the terms than it is the money. So it's being framed as if the max element is kind of non-negotiable. And what they don't want, and this is a little bit reminiscent of James Harden last summer. What they don't want is they know how many teams have the kind of cap room to cut the kind of check they're looking for, and free agency very possibly, will not lead to the kind of full max or even any max that he's looking for. I don't know that, I don't know exactly what that market looks like, but getting an extension out of the Raptors because they need to get assets in return for moving him might still be their best play and probably is. And I think they're leaning on that. They know that Masai Ujiri, who runs the Raptors, has taken a lot of flack for losing guys for nothing. Fred VanVleet, last summer, another player who is escaping me right now, but they've had this stretch where if you're retooling, you got to get something for these guys and not just watch them walk away. And Siakam's people know that. And I think that's why they keep pushing for an extension.
Yeah. Kawhi, wasn't he the other one?
Yes, thank you.
Yeah. Pretty significant one. Yeah.
Pretty significant one. Yeah.
Did you have in any of these talks about him, about his future, what Siakam may do on the Kings side of things? Did you, ever get, I don't know, full confirmation, but what was reportedly going to be, if the Kings were intrigued with Siakam, what the Raptors would want from Sacramento?
My general understanding is that it's, a Harrison Barnes, Kevin Huerter, Davion Mitchell approach. And then in terms of picks, possibly, I don't have clarity there. I think philosophically, it has felt like the Kings' willingness, and I do think those talks were pretty significant when they got reported last week. This was not just continued flirtations. This was like, hey, are we getting somewhere here? And, there was even, when I was in LA, there was some chatter about the Raptors kind of allegedly moving the goalpost a little bit. And when it looked like something might get done, asking for more, which conceivably would have been a Keegan Murray type or something, something like that. I think the Kings are looking at this like, the only scenario in which we will do this is you taking our players who, is delicate here because these guys are important in what they're doing right now, but who are not necessarily seen as part of the long-term future. Now, Huerter to me is the tricky one there because, man, it's just been a tough year for him where, last year he was a massive part of what they did, gets off to a tough start this year, feels like he loves it in town. So but it's, the league is tough. They, guys not named LeBron and Steph and KD and all those guys are typically available. It's just how it works. It's a long-winded answer to your question, Jay, but I think we'll give you the pieces that we are comfortable giving you that don't significantly impact our future, aka Keegan Murray. And if you ask for anything beyond that, then there's really no reason for us to talk.
Yeah.
And we'll see if that changes, but that's the way it's been explained to me.
Yeah, and if that's it, again, you're so right, Sam, that these guys are still people and they're still parts of these teams. But if that truly is an offer on the Kings front of some liking of Barnes, Huerter, Mitchell, maybe some picks or something along the lines for Siakam, with the risk being that he may not re-sign, boy, that would still be a tempting risk to take for me as someone that goes, if you keep Keegan and you got Monk and you keep Fox and Sabonis, I don't know. I mean, I think Monty McNair and West might revisit that one. That's just a total guess on my part, but what do you think about that?
I do, and we get paid to analyze this stuff. So
yeah,
I'll get over the feeling guilty aspect of it. Barnes, Huerter, Mitchell are on the short list of players this season who I think are perceived as having been disappointing.
Yeah, they've underperformed. You're right.
Yes. And Mitchell in particular is a guy that they picked really high, but all you got to do is watch the games and realize that his part in their program has changed significantly since last season. So yeah, I think the temptation is there. I don't think, even though the Kings had indicated that the talks had ended, that was said with a month ago before the deadline. I anticipate that they certainly will revisit it. Talking to people in LA, I guess just to broaden the scope a little bit, Indiana sounds to be very interested. So I think Indiana's going to be in the mix. I don't know what they're willing to put on the table. Golden State is another one.
Mm-hmm.
The Warriors, that is real. I don't know how, what those conversations have been like, but I'm with you. I do. It could become one of those trades for any of those teams because it's, again, to repeat this part, it's not just Siakam picking on the Kings as far as free agency goes. Like he is not indicating to any team that he goes to that he will resign in advance. He's just not going to do that. So everybody is having to roll the dice here if they want this guy to play for them. So we'll see what happens. But if you talk about just the rest of the year and what does that look like? I mean, that's pretty nice. I think some people feel like with the Kings, and I'm curious how you think basketball wise, like any concern about duplication between Siakam and Keegan in terms of roles?
Not entirely for me, but I'm more into acquiring the more talent you can have and kind of sorting it out. But no, I don't think I would. The biggest concern is the red flag right there is re-signing him.
Yeah.
And does that make financial sense with Monk? I mean, to me, Sam, the other part of the equation for the Kings that's really interesting is Monk. I mean, I think they've paid Fox, they've paid Sabonis. There'll be a time where if they want to go down this road, they want to keep Keegan, he'll be due. But the most pressing one is Monk, and he's been an important part, and he should get a good payday. But kind of factoring him in with a trade with a potential free agent, that's a tricky one, I think, for the Kings.
I agree. And on top of that, it's, Siakam's, he's a 2-time All-Star, 2-time All-NBA. I know people generally, at least on social media, those people, when I reported that he was seeking a max, there was, and we're guilty of only seeing like the negative responses, but like a lot of people finding that humorous that don't see him as a max player. Like people sometimes forget that the way NBA economics works is that the salary cap inevitably or inherently means that like the phrase max player, it should not be equated with like, best, what I'm saying? Like it's like LeBron James, might make $40 million a year, 48 million, whatever it is. He's actually worth 110. I'm just throwing a number out there. So the sliding scale aspect of that means that a guy like Siakam in the NBA market very possibly could wind up as a max player again. But for the Kings, sure, it'd be great if he was a 29-year-old who was looking for a competitive situation and looking to just make the contract work in order to be, to be in a good basketball situation. that's clearly not what's happening. And they're going to have to, let's say they did roll the dice, then they're trying to re-sign him, or any team. I mean, that age is a factor. 29 is not old, but he's moving to the back end of his prime. So a lot of factors to consider for sure.
Talking with Sam Amick here, our weekly visit with Sam from The Athletic. Now, Sam, Siakam can't be the only one on the Kings list and or really around the league.
When you buy 10 tickets on Vivid Seats, you get the 11th ticket free. I wonder what my 11th will be.
We are getting closer, as you said. Who are some other names, teams that, Levine's out there, but some other ones that we should watch? Because I think back to last deadline, Sam, where, we had generational talent being dealt. Kyrie Irving, Kevin Durant, Westbrook. There were so many moves last year. What are you keeping your eye on here over the next couple weeks?
I do feel like we keep recycling the same names, so in the interest of trying to advance the conversation a little bit, I'll say that Charlotte has become an interesting team to watch. I think we might have hit on this in past visits, Jay, but like the Miles Bridges component is going to be really uncomfortable for somebody because he's a pretty good player with an absolutely awful, off-court profile at the moment. So, a guy like that comes to mind. Gordon Hayward, who gets paid a ton of money, but who's on an expiring contract, comes to mind. Terry Rozier. Charlotte in general is in flux. Ownership change. Rumors about Mitch Kupchak in the front office. Is he going to be around? And so it's created a kind of a conversation where people think that maybe a bunch of those guys are going to change jerseys. So if you talk about talent, do any of those guys fit the Kings' needs? And then from there, the Chicago situation continues to evolve with Zach LaVine coming back. I actually don't know, and I should have looked. What have the results been like since he came back? Is this on your radar at all?
Mixed bag. I know one of the games came back. He came off the bench, and they're up and down, much like they've been most of the year, a little below 500.
Yeah, well, because you got Zach, who kind of needs to show everybody that he's healthy. But I do think there's people who feel like he would be the best fit for the Kings, which is an interesting debate. But you've got DeMar DeRozan, whose situation is still in flux. You got Alex Caruso, who, of all the names we've talked about, like that is probably, other than Siakam, the one. Maybe, if you talk about just like, getting a deal done and having a guy help your team, Caruso might be at the top of that list. But the Bulls, by all accounts, are actually asking for multiple first-round picks, so the price is pretty high. We'll see if that changes. Who am I leaving out here as we try to make the round?
I think those are the main names, and I think there's
DeJounte Murray in Atlanta.
That one's come up. Yeah,
Clint Capella. That's that one's an interesting one. I don't know what it would take, but the Kings could certainly use some more rim defense. DeAndre Hunter on the Hawks is available too. So not as sexy of a pool of names, like you said, as it was this time a year ago, but some pretty good players.
Well, and then it's going to turn out to be a pretty significant names level and name value in the free agency market this summer. But to your point you said earlier, Sam, a lot of teams don't have money. We've already kind of had the first mark of that yesterday as far as names and Kawhi Leonard getting the extension. I think it makes sense for what they did. What's your read on the Clippers' decision there? And it sounds like they may try to do the same with Harden and or Paul George.
Yeah, it's how quickly the fortunes have turned for the Clippers. I keep joking with people that I'm taking some credit for their turnaround, because when James Harden and I had that long interview a couple weeks ago in San Francisco, and he unpacked a lot of his feelings about Philly and Houston and all these different things, they started winning the next day, man. And next thing you know, they win 13 out of 15. They lose to the Lakers, but they come back last night and take care of the Raptors. They're good. I'm going to write next week. And for the YouTubers, sorry, I suddenly look like I'm up in an airplane or something. The sunlight is hitting me hard.
You're like on an album. It's like the side shot, like an 80s album cover or something.
Here, I'm going to fix it. They live TV.
Yes.
There we go. Much better. Now I lost my train of thought.
You were talking about the
Where are we at?
Clippers and what they were
Oh,
doing.
the Clippers.
Yeah.
No, they look good. Oh, I'm going to write next week about the Suns, and I actually yesterday was a good day on the reporting front. Pretty good conversations with Kevin Durant, and stick with me here. I'll get to the Clippers. Durant, Bradley Beal, and Devin Booker, and actually spoke to all three of those guys about what I think is an interesting comparison between them and the Clippers, and the idea that you have these three perimeter players who are, perennial all-stars, future Hall of Famers, who are trying to make it work. Well, the Clippers, right out the gate when they got James Harden, they lost 5 or 6 in a row. They were terrible. Russell Westbrook goes to the bench. Things get better. The Suns are in it right now, but a lot of the themes are similar. So I'm curious to see if Phoenix can find its way, because they just haven't had a lot of court time together with their three guys. And their goal should be to do what the Clippers have done, which is, for one, the massive difference between those two situations is that people can hate on Harden all they want, but when he's locked in, he's a pretty damn good player, and more specifically, pretty damn good point guard.
Mm-hmm.
And the Suns, are asking Devin Booker to play that role. He's good at it. He's not James Harden. And Harden running that Clippers offense, finding Kawhi Leonard, Paul George, running an absolute ton of pick and roll has been key, and they're dangerous. Zubac has been a really good fit with Harden. Westbrook is hot and cold off the bench, but Norm Powell playing well. So they look really dangerous. To me, they're getting pretty close to being legitimately in that title contending conversation. So they lock up Kawhi. I think, like he said in his press conference, Paul George and maybe James are to come this summer. We'll see if Paul gets extended in advance of that. But Steve Ballmer has got to be feeling good these days. The Clippers owner has got his own arena coming next season. That game that I went to on Sunday, little fun fact, was the last time that the Clippers will ever have been the road team in their own building, because that was a Lakers game. So they're going to get out. They're trying to get out from underneath that Lakers shadow, and with the stakes incredibly high, it's good timing for them to have pulled it together and actually played some good basketball.
Well, I know the next couple of weeks is going to be an adventure for a lot of us, for you as well, Sam. We always love talking to you, and we look forward to seeing you soon. Thank you so much for joining us again.
You got it. Thanks, Jay.
Again, that was Jason Ross and Sam Amick. Great conversations they have every single week. Sam Amick, very plugged in with the Sacramento Kings, and plenty of good stuff in there that we will touch on after we take a little bit of a break here. Got to check that box, and then we'll get into some of that conversation and preview Kings' upcoming matchup, end of this road trip in Phoenix against the Suns, and see where to go from here. So thanks to everybody for listening, and catch us after the break. Sactown Sports, Brenden Nunes, Frankie Cartoscelli.
All right, and we are still here. We're still here through the break, everybody. Again,
we're here.
Thank you all, everybody in the YouTube chat, for joining us today. It's been really fun. We were just talking about how I think we'd be open, and again, you guys give us feedback if you'd like, but if you enjoy these shows, and then having on our buddies Chris, Alan, maybe we'll have others on next time, but maybe trying to make this happen on a more regular basis. I think it's actually pretty fun to do this, especially maybe the deadline around there, and
Totally.
and the playoffs. I'm having a good time.
Yeah,
so.
Sounds good to me.
Do
Appreciate
some
everybody that
live
hopped in here.
Return of the Roar / Kings Insider / Kings Roundtable
/
all of the above.
Just buddies hanging out.
Yeah.
Talking
in airports.
Talking about airport commercials. Hooping at the airport.
Mike Brown pulling Ron Artest out of the crowd during the Malice at the Palace, which I kind of forgot about it because it wasn't in the original video, but from other camera angles, you can kind of see Mike Brown in there. Yeah.
Yeah, man. It was yesterday really just, I don't know, just going back to I was really excited about, the possibility of them pulling out that win. It was going to feel good.
Still is I still feel good about it.
Well, you put up 141 on the Bucks. You erased a 12-point deficit. And again, even if they were missing Middleton, I think the Kings should hang their hat on that kind of performance. Yeah. That's the exact type of performance you want to see from a team. And I keep going back to the numbers, but the numbers are all good. You out-rebound them. You outscore them in the paint. 52% from the field, 41 from three. Free throws are that one thing that didn't go well, but timely stops late in the game. De'Aaron doing what he does late in the game. Sabonis with a triple-double. Like,
Kevin was back.
By the way, we barely talked about Domantas Sabonis.
I know.
Which we were supposed to like. We can do a little appreciation for him at some point.
Yeah,
we have a half an hour to go, but
yeah,
he's doing some. Like last night was the first game I think in NBA history where someone had like a 20 or a 10, 15, and 10. I don't know, but it was like that specific stat line whenever on 90%. Like he's doing it on high percentage shooting.
Gosh, the percentage is ridiculous.
The percentage is crazy.
He had in the first quarter he tied the most assists in a first quarter of a game by any player in the league this year when he had 8, which was also a fun little stat.
First, huh? It's always the end of the first quarter you look up because he plays like all but 2 minutes of it, and you're like, he just casually has like 8, 7, and 4 every time.
It's the whole Jokic thing.
Yeah,
where Jokic, you would look up and it's like, oh yeah, he's got a triple double, and he played. I think he had one that was in like 11 minutes and 20 something seconds at one point. I think it was the fastest triple double ever. But Jokic is always like, well, he's going to get a triple-double by the third quarter because the stat line is so ridiculous when he's playing against bad defense.
And that's why I'm frustrated with like the whole Sabonis thing. And like, I know, but we're kind of moving on. I think that the fact the NBA is putting that out, like I think that we are seeing some more respect for Sabonis around the league. It's just if he played for anybody else, I mean like anybody else, I feel like it just would be different. And I hate to say like that as like a victim's mentality or whatever, but like I just feel like if he was playing for the Spurs or playing for the, and that's even like smaller market, like the Bucks, like I'm talking like any other team, I think we'd be seeing a lot more about him, or even like in Portland, because he'd be like,
Pacers.
In Portland, like, okay, Pacers too. Like he did it he was doing what his dad did here. Like his dad was the same. Like, oh my goodness, like, there'd be a storyline if he was in Portland, Indiana. I guess he'd had this going, like he had these kind of games in Indiana, but I don't know, man.
The documentary is going to change everything.
The Kings Pacers trade documentary.
That'd be amazing. But the like quarterback equivalent,
the Sabonis Netflix show.
People dunking on that too. It's like, oh, there's what we're skipping. Why? Like.
Dude, it's going to be great. He's going to be mid winery tour getting interviewed.
Great is a word. I don't know if it's the one I would use to describe it.
He's sneaky funny.
Like Ant is, he is.
We talk about Sabonis is very sneaky. Probably him and Malik are probably the funniest two players on the team. I would say like they're he has a lot of humor that maybe it doesn't come off as like as much as Malik, but behind the scenes stuff, he's funny.
He is very funny.
He's very funny.
He has some inside jokes for sure.
I guess the Netflix quarterback show was wildly disinteresting, and so I feel like they got to,
I watched one episode.
Yeah, I mean,
I pretty much did the same.
Patrick, they had access to Mahomes, but it was really he didn't give them very much. Maybe Sabonis will give them something insightful or interesting, but I know Sacramento people will care. I don't know what the broad appeal is going to be.
I mean, the other guys are just like a different
LeBron James doesn't give you unfettered access to LeBron James's life normally.
For a second, I thought you meant the other guy's movie. Like you'd rather watch the other guy's movie. No. I would rather. Yeah, I would too.
I just mean like Anthony Edwards is for sure going to be the best one there, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Jimmy Butler, I think will be a great one.
I think LeBron's, and again, I'm a LeBron fan. I love LeBron. Like I grew up watching. I think LeBron will have like the corniest.
Can't believe you. Oh yeah,
he'll be very corny.
Do we think that Rachel Nichols will make any appearances in Jimmy Butler's
No.
She should interview him the entire time.
Brenden, you're wild.
What?
Real,
I'm genuinely, I'm
know.
genuinely curious about what Jimmy Butler's life is like. What does Jimmy Butler do outside? Like I know Taylor Rooks talked before about he does coffee, and also he's a huge like avid journaler, and I'm like, what?
Really?
Yeah, I'm like, what does Jimmy Butler do in his life? That's what I'm curious
He
about.
likes country music. Yeah. He obviously, I hope whatever, if they covered it, I hope they were filming Media Day. I want to see what the process was getting.
Oh my God,
getting ready for Media Day.
Oh yes,
the goth look.
Yes, it's so good.
I'm curious what he does to top it next year because
last year's was great.
It's going to be
shaved
so
head.
hard.
Yeah, fake bald cap.
And I loved that it was like
fake bald cap. They make him take it off.
Next to him and like trying to just be serious while he's taking his picture. He's like, "This is my Halloween."
All right, coming back.
That's 916-277-8599 or visit ReviveMen'sHealth.com.
Live and local.
This is Sactown Sports.
Sactown Sports Kings Insiders starting to wind down the day a little bit here. Thanks to everybody that has joined myself, Brenden Nunes, Frankie Cartoscelli, got Kyle behind the glass as well. Appreciate everybody that has tuned in. And just in that last segment, played a really good conversation that Sam Amick had recently with our guy Jason Ross on the morning show. Frankie, I'll throw it to you pretty open-ended. It's a tough word all of a sudden.
No, it's not.
To start, it's not. Thanks. You're not wrong.
Also
I'm
two
out.
words.
Yeah, fair enough. But open-ended question to you. Just what stood out to you throughout the course of that conversation?
I mean, again, it's kind of evaluating the players that the Kings have or the packages. It sounds like that package of Huerter and Barnes and maybe some future draft compensation or Davion Mitchell. That seems to be like, that's the package. Like, I don't think the Kings are going to move Keegan. Like, obviously, they're making it clear. And we've seen multiple people say and heard that Keegan Murray's off the table. And even like guys like Zach Lowe, who, and Sam, who are the top of the top, they both have acknowledged that Keegan's like, it's very, very unlikely he gets moved. And I know that kind of goes back to like the Tyrese Halliburton.
Yeah, it's so triggering.
And it's very, very similar as far as like, we heard things too, like going into it, like he's not being moved. Tyrese Halliburton
black
not
and white
being traded. And then the next morning, enjoying my breakfast, and you get the Woj bomb that he's being traded for Sabonis. So that being said, you got to take it all with a grain of salt, like what these insiders say, because like things can change very quickly. It's a lot of negotiating tactics. People do negotiate through the media. We all know that if you've been following sports ever, it happens. But it's just intriguing to me because like I feel like with the Sabonis move, even though there was a little bit of smoke there, like there were reports that the Kings were kicking the tires and trading for Sabonis. Like we knew that like for weeks. And we went over that idea. And at the time, it was a Fox for Sabonis trade, which seems crazy to look back.
Or even like a lot of people were like, could it be Miles Turner?
Yeah.
Like,
I think Miles Turner was actually the more appealing one of the time because like the Kings needed a floor spacing big that could block shots. And instead they get a guy who leads the league in rebounds and is more around the paint and is not a rim protector. But I think that it'd be surprising to see Keegan Murray get moved. And outside of that, it's kind of like a bunch of unknown. Like we think the Kings are interested in Pascal Siakam, even still after everything that happened. I think that Sam had a point like that. The Siakam losing interest in the Kings situation, could it be a Chris Webber kind of avenue where you trade for him anyway and say, okay, well, let's see how you like it when you get here. Maybe they can persuade him to stay here and you can re-up with the Kings. But either way, the same thing we talked about with Jeremy Grant or other guys that are in the same age range. Pascal Siakam is going to be 30. He's looking for a max contract, not a relatively nice contract. He wants 40 plus million per year. And I just don't think that's going to happen. Now, if the Kings want to just go ahead and roll the dice and give up Kevin Huerter and Harrison Barnes, if that's what it takes, because I think Toronto wants more, though. They'll want future draft picks. I think you should do it. If there's no draft compensation, you're going to gamble on it. I don't think it's the worst decision in the world, but I think that there are other alternatives out there that you can make that Barnes, Huerter, future first, or Davion package. I think you can get something done with that, but I don't know how appealing it's going to be as far as a return. It won't be Pascal Siakam, it looks like.
I think even if it was a first, I'd still really consider it. Like, what stands out to me is there any place that he said, I would resign there? Which is also a tough situation because typically guys aren't coming out and being this public with this. Not that he said it specifically. It's obviously more of a reporting, probably coming from agents and different things like that. But this could just be a leverage play. Like, I don't feel like there's been anywhere where it's like sources are saying that Pascal Siakam would resign here and that he does want to get traded here. Like, maybe he's still hoping for an extension from Toronto and then could be rerouted after the fact. But like, I don't know. I didn't see that reporting and was like, oh, this is just done, And I know that's not what you're saying.
No, and like even Sam said, like, it's not really just a Kings thing. That's like, it's for everybody. Like, there's not anybody that they're hearing about that he wants, even like the Raptors, like they apparently, like, there's been reports like the last couple of days that they're done negotiating, but we'll see. Like, you are until you're not, right? But it's not just a Kings thing.
Yeah. There's a funny question in chat here from Keeks8. Why is Alvin Gentry in Dallas to watch the Pels Mavs? I just am using that as an excuse to talk about Alvin Gentry because Alvin Gentry is sports obsessed to the max. So I refuse to read into any sporting event this man goes to because he just loves his sports of every type.
He does, but you never know. I mean, if he had someone else with him, I'd be okay. Well, also, who has eyes on Alvin Gentry? Is there other eyes on Alvin Gentry in Dallas?
I don't know.
No, I mean, again, it might be a move we didn't see coming. I think those are always the ones that are, I guess from a content or fan perspective, the most fun when it's just like, what? And that's kind of how it's worked. Like last year, it was really out of nowhere. Again, I know we talked about there was some smoke with the Sabonis move, or 2 years ago, the Sabonis move, but now I'm looking back to that deal and it was really a shock. It really was a very stunning event. Like one that I think was maybe the one of the most shocking moments, especially when doing my job. But I mean, being just a guy that grew up watching the Kings and, all the moves they made, that was one of the most stunning moves I've ever seen. So Will it be to that extent? I don't think so. Like, again, I've said it before with you guys on the air that I don't think the Kings are making a big splashy move. Whether they should or not is a whole entire different question, but it just seems like the Huerter Barnes package, which is probably the main thing they're putting out there. I mean, what's the most that could really get you back? Like, I just don't.
It's nothing great. Like, I do think those guys are fine and they're serviceable and they'd have their roles. Like, I think that Toronto would actually probably really appreciate having a shooter like Kevin Huerter, but even in like looking at that, it's like, well, they got Grady Dick there and it's kind of the same thing. And even though Huerter might be a little further along at this point, like that's a weird fit. But there's places like those guys aren't nothing, you know what I mean? But they're also not, I don't think, something that other teams are going to look at and be like, God, if only we had.
Seems like Chicago really wants Kevin Huerter, though, which is
that could make sense.
You know,
Caruso.
interesting.
Caruso. I mean, again, I don't know how many firsts you guys would give up for Alex Caruso. I mean, if 2 is the ask, I'm a little hesitant to pull the trigger on a 2 first-round pick deal. But
do you value Kevin Huerter as like the equivalent to a first-round pick, which is interesting because obviously he got traded for a first-round pick like less than 18 months ago. But
and I think that's been a good trade. I think if the Kings do make if Kevin Huerter were to remain on this roster this year and like were to at least revert back to similar form as last year, because last year was a career for Kevin Huerter and he was huge for the Kings last year. I think that made it worth it as far as he was a big part of what got them back to the playoffs. But this year, will it be worth it as well if they just kind of do the same thing again, or if they fall? Because right now they're the 6th seed, tough West, and like if they were to somehow make the play-in and lose, they don't lose. They don't have a first-round pick this year. It's going to Atlanta. Does that change the way that trade unfolded?
Right.
So I don't know.
When Bronny James gets
when the
Hawks,
when the Kings have the pick,
the Kings pick.
If you are interested in the Caruso thing, so basically to make the contracts work, what would happen is like the Kings would take on Javon Carter and like most likely waive him after taking on his contract to like make the money work. But you know, it's Caruso and Carter for Huerter, and then pick whatever draft picks you think should go either way.
Yeah,
it's
there's no clear avenue though, I feel like, and also like how much is Chicago looking to really blow it up? Because like we know they want to move Zach LaVine and free up cap, but do they maybe want to hold on to Caruso just to have as again like Bobby Marks' point about the Wizards keeping Kyle Kuzma? Do you want to just have some guys like as far as structure goes and stability to kind of start that new like rebuild? Because who else, like Vucevic probably isn't going to be there. He's a guy I feel like isn't being talked about a lot that could be moved. I feel like if someone would take him, but again, who would want to take him?
Not the Kings. Yeah.
Not the Kings. Just in general, like how much they're going to blow up their current roster. But Caruso's a guy that would help the Kings in a bunch of different ways, and I feel like that's the kind of move like that. Or we were talking about like Tyus Jones, like if the Kings want to bolster their bench unit. Malcolm Brogdon, I mean, is he an incredible defender? No, but
I mean, he's kind of nice though.
He's an upgrade.
Yeah,
he's an upgrade. And if you come off the bench,
playmaking,
either bench or start next to Fox, I feel like either way he's a good player to have. There are players to be had. It's just how do they get there? And I don't know what's Sacramento's plan. We don't really know.
For sure. An eventful, definitely last couple of days for the Kings. There's going to be plenty of trade conversations, I'm sure, in the less than month that we have leading up. All-time meme the other day from Mike Brown in postgame, and Joe did a good job of compiling some of those memes, which I have to say Chris Watkins one about trying to convince his girlfriend to get him Taco Bell every night. And using coaches' gestures and pointing at the screen may be my favorite one. But you can check out the fun compilation on SactownSports.com. And as we get back here after the break, we got the last game of the road trip for the Kings. You know, it's kind of there's varying feelings on how it's gone up to this point, but the final matchup is with the Phoenix Suns tomorrow, Wednesday. And after we get back from the break here on Sactown Sports, we're going to dive into that. Brenden Nunes, Frankie Cartoscelli.
All right. That was the end of the segment there.
Last one, guys. Last break.
Last break up here. Yeah. So, one of the things that was funny, you just said Vucevic and where he would go. I was trying to think of a good.
Hello, Sacramento.
Sorry. I was trying to think of a good joke trade for Vucevic and like somewhere somewhere to send him, and I just can't even think of a good like funny place to set. He's just.
I mean, what's he making? He's got to be making like over 25 million, right?
I think it's less now because his original contract with Orlando was 4 for $100, and then he just got a new extension.
It's just 60 over 3, making 20 million a year.
But I just can't find the team because it's one of my favorite stats of all time in NBA history is that the years that Orlando made it to the playoffs with Vucevic, those 2 years, they had a worse offensive rating with him on the floor than with him off the floor because he was giving him 25 points, but it was just the most empty stats, 25 points. And I thought it was so funny that they gave up all they did for him.
Yeah.
But I can't even think of a good joke team that would take Vucevic.
No, I mean, good player and had a very long career at this point. I'm looking, this is his 15th year, I think. I mean, 13th year. Obviously not someone I was looking for the Kings, by the way, for anyone that's like, what? We don't need what? No, not Vucevic on the Kings. More just like as far as how much is Chicago going to make these moves.
A team with who?
Dallas probably would like Vucevic. Yeah.
Wouldn't be off. I mean, you're just looking for a team that needs offensive production from the big position, but, is limited in his offensive skill set. And I think I'm talking myself into Charlotte right now, but
the Magic. Send him home.
Rashawn Holmes, is he playing? No,
No,
he's not. He's played in 17 games for them. He's averaging 10 minutes per game. That's a bummer, man. I really did enjoy Rashawn when he was here. He was a good player.
Same.
The story of him just kind of coming up from
Patent
being
pending.
Yeah. Wait, what?
Patent pending.
Oh, yeah.
Doug Christie's line for his push shot, right?
The push shot was patent pending. I mean, and look at his field goal percentage with the Kings. 60%, 65%, 64%. In the last year, 66%, but he didn't play very much.
I think he was always battling with like Mitchell Robinson and Rudy Gobert for field goal percentage.
Yeah, and he had a stretch. I think he was in 2020, 2021. He averaged a career high of 14 points, career high 8 rebounds, and then career high 1.6 blocks. He was
legit good.
Exactly what the Kings needed. A high percentage shot maker around the paint, a shot blocker, and a good rebounder. And just bad injuries and just bad luck, really. I mean, he got paid. The good thing that you can take from it is that he got paid.
Which, by the way, like, is there a point where if the Kings don't use the trade exception that it just disappears?
I think they all a year. They all have a year clock.
I forgot about the exception.
We don't talk about that enough. They basically just threw away the 24 pick at this point because they they got out from under the contract, but like they haven't used the trade exception at all.
Is there a way I can look to see how many trade exceptions the Kings have? Like, how many do they have?
I assume it's just like
I assume
it's like a cumulative dollar value.
They may not have any right now.
Did they all expire?
I believe
they haven't made any trades.
Yeah, how is the Rashawn? The Rashawn one couldn't have expired.
Oh no, wait, that was in summer, so they should.
Was it this summer though?
Yeah, it was this last draft because Rashawn was on the team last year.
Yeah,
it was on draft night, so it's like draft night next year theoretically. I guess is when the exception should expire.
I'm on Spot Rack trying to have it update, but.
Who's a use it or lose it player that we could just absorb into the trade exception, like Alec Burks or something?
Again, round 2.
Yeah, he's better now.
He's Luke Laux's guy.
He's been good everywhere he's been except Sacramento. Well, he didn't play in Sacramento.
I would beg to differ. I don't think he was killing it out there in Utah.
Well, no, not killing it, but he's been a fine role player.
Yeah, I've been frustrated by that. They just have it's fine if you don't have that player that you want, but just giving up the 24 pick for nothing is like not a very good decision. Especially in the moment, it wasn't a very good decision. But then add in the fact you're not even going to use the trade exception that you got.
Well, if Sparak's right, I don't think the Kings have any trade exceptions because nothing's coming up.
So then the site I looked at too doesn't say they have any.
Where did it go?
I don't know. Did they even create a trade exception?
It might just be cap space.
I think they just cleared up the cap space they needed to get
Domas
to give Domas his deal and then get Sasha maybe.
Yeah.
They were saying there was a trade exception in there, so maybe it doesn't. Anyways, we got 10 seconds till we're back, and we're going to be out at 55.
Sweet.
Cool.
New garage door.
638-4554 National Garage Door.
Sactown Sports. Call or text at 916-339-1140.
Sactown Sports, Brenden Nunes, Frankie Cartoscelli, little Kings Insider special going on today on this holiday. And we're going till noon, a little bit of our final segment. touched on plenty of things throughout this conversation, was joined by our typical, I guess usually we're the guests on the roundtable, Chris Watkins, Alan Stiles earlier, dove into a lot of the road trip, but there's one game remaining, and that is against the Phoenix Suns, divisional opponent, tomorrow on Tuesday. And they have their trio. They've had their trio for a handful of games now here. So this is a little bit of a different team than the Kings were seeing them when they faced off earlier in the year.
Yeah, I mean, I think again, this is back right after Christmas. There was a lot of like chatter about, man, the Suns, I don't know, might have to blow things up as season goes on. There's not quite where they need to be. On December 25th, Christmas Day, they fell to 14-15. Since Christmas Day, they are, I think they're 7-3. Yeah, 1, 2, 3. Yeah, they're 7-3 since Christmas Day. They have turned around and they're improved to 3 games over 500. They've won 2 in a row entering tomorrow's game against the Kings. And yeah, like you said, their health is finally coming around. They have their 3 guys available. Over that last 10-game stretch, they're averaging about 120 points per game, 52% shooting from the field, 40% from 3, 80% from the free throw line. Yikes for the Kings having to try to match that tomorrow. And then obviously the defense for Phoenix is not quite really their calling card. They're 16th in defensive rating, kind of similar to where the Kings are, middle of the pack. But they're kind of a team right now, as far as all categories go, they rank in the middle among a lot of categories. Because again, we just don't know who this team really fully is yet. But I think you can know that Kevin Durant being healthy, Devin Booker being healthy, and Bradley Beal being healthy, and that doesn't even take Nurkic into account, who does give the Kings fits sometimes. It's going to be a tough game. And we talked about it before we went on into the weekend. What would a successful road trip be for this Kings team? 5 games. Last night, seconds away from starting the trip 3-1. And now you're looking at a 500 trip today. Tomorrow, can they go out 3-2? That's the question. They're already 2-0 against Phoenix, which again, an extra game thrown in there because of the in-season tournament. So the Kings actually will face Phoenix 5 times this year. If you get tomorrow, you take the season series. That'd be big because again, in the tight Western Conference, as the Kings, who fell to 6 today, Phoenix is right in the rearview mirror.
They're definitely right there. Their trio has played 150 minutes together at this point, that being Durant, Booker, and Beal, obviously, and 125.1 offensive rating, 110.4 defensive, kind of whatever there, but 14.7 net rating. Their offense is crazy. And obviously, I don't think that's surprising to anybody. All these guys are also great playmakers, like not just creating for themselves, but for their teammates. Booker has become pretty much the full-time point guard, and I think that's a totally fine route for them to take. It's an interesting opportunity for the Kings to kind of, I guess, confront some of their defensive weaknesses, because specifically if you don't have Keegan Murray, which we don't know as of right now, still very TBD. Yeah.
Check social media, check Sactown Sports social media. Brenden, Nunes, and I, if you're on X or Threads, we will be putting an update up when the injury report comes. Twitter. I know. I can't believe I just called it that. I cannot believe I just called it that for the first time ever. Twitter.
Come on, Franklin.
Twitter. I won't forget my roots ever.
Who guards who here?
If Keegan's playing?
Yeah, we'll say if Keegan's playing. Like,
I think you got to put Keegan on Booker.
I think you do too. And then you're probably stuck with Barnes on KD.
Yeah.
And
Fox on
De'Aaron on the last one.
Fox on Beal. Yeah.
I
And
guess,
then
right?
Okogie and Kevin. And then you have Nurk and Sabonis. So,
yeah.
Again, a bruising matchup. That's going to be a bruising matchup down in the post tomorrow.
Grayson Allen and Kevin Huerter.
Grayson
like
Allen.
The Spider-Man meme.
Because Okogie's off the bench now, right?
I believe so. Yeah, they've been starting Grayson Allen.
And
Who I actually think he's pretty good.
No, again, the jokes about Grayson Allen, they write themselves. But
for sure.
I mean, just looking at what he's been doing, everywhere he goes, he's been just that great. I mean, he's shooting 47% from 3 this year.
Wild.
On how many attempts per game? On 5.5 attempts. Like that's
Their
decent
last
volume.
game, he had 20 points on 6 shots.
And he's rebounding. 4 rebounds per game as a guard. That's more than Harrison Barnes this year, I'm pretty sure. 91% from the line. Maybe the Kings should go after Grayson Allen as a free throw shooter. That's a joke. That's a joke. That's a joke. But no, this is not the same Suns team the Kings have seen a couple times. This is very different. And it's going to be a challenge. It's going to be a challenge again, because if the Kings lose tomorrow, that closes the gap. Phoenix will be 1 game behind them in the standings. Plus, that probably would drop the Kings out of the playoff range into the play-in range. They'll fall to 7th, I believe, with the loss tomorrow night. So is it, time to panic if the Kings lose and fall to 2 and 3 on the road trip? No, but you would really like them to take care of these games that against these division foes that you should win. Because again, personally, even with the Suns' big 3, I view the Kings as a better team. I think they're deeper. I think that Phoenix just doesn't have the depth because they really did leverage a lot of that Again, the problem with the Kings bringing on another contract means you have less money to add more pieces around you. They got a bunch of guys on 1-year minimum deals, like Eric Gordon's and Yuta Watanabe, and down the list. Like
Our guy Chimezi.
Chimezi Metu on
I
a
was
1
just
year.
looking at his numbers. He's been playing.
How's he been playing?
He's been playing. He's played in their last 18 games, averaged 7.8 points, 4 boards, 52% from the field, 30% from 3 on 2.2 a game. But like, I think they were definitely searching rotationally, and the athleticism that he provides and like hypothetical versatility can be interesting. But are we getting a Chimezi Metu revenge game? Last time he didn't play, right?
I think he did, didn't he? I think he started against Sacramento. I can pull up his game log right here.
In Golden One.
So against the Kings at Golden One Center, Chimezi Metu played 23 minutes.
Okay.
And he scored 10 points and had 4 rebounds. It's funny, in both games against the Kings this year, he went 10-4. So I think tomorrow it's fair
consistent.
It's fair to expect 10-4 tomorrow.
Yeah.
But no, that would be the worst case scenario. Obviously, a Chimezi Metu revenge game would not be fun to watch, as funny as it would be, and the conversations we can have would be funny. But I'm looking to see the Kings KD. I'm looking at KD. He's my player to watch or matchup to watch, I think, especially if Keegan can't play. Because like we talked about, if Keegan can't play, who starts? Chris Duarte?
Probably Duarte because he has been.
Or Toscano Anderson, and you put him on Kevin Durant and say, go use your 6 fouls.
Probably Duarte.
Probably Duarte because of what he can bring on offense. But I think we'll see a lot of JTA if Keegan can't play, just because of his length and the way he can defend, multiple positions.
I think that's fair. And somebody's pointing out in the chat, Kessler did a decent job on Booker at times last year.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Those are the 2 guys. Devin Booker and Anthony Edwards are the guys that Mike Brown would deploy. Kessler Edwards say, okay, go stop him. He's giving us 30. So
yeah. So last thing for you before we get out of here, Phoenix Suns, Sacramento Kings, you're saying kind of in the same tier here, right?
Yeah.
How big is this tier? Dallas, New Orleans, and then after that, like the top 4, Minnesota, OKC, Denver, the Clippers are probably in their own.
Look at
right
Utah.
now.
Look at Utah jumping in the 9.
Yeah.
I would say the tier the Kings are in probably is, it's like that B tier, which would be with New Orleans, Sacramento, New Orleans, Phoenix,
Dallas.
Maybe the Rockets. Like the Rockets are a sneaky good team, man.
Sometimes,
and they've struggled. They're not very good on the road.
They're
But
getting their butt kicked right now by Philly, by the way.
oh, they are? Okay, maybe never mind.
I mean, the Kings got their butt kicked
Yeah,
by Philly,
yeah.
so maybe we are in the same tier.
Utah did not see Utah coming. They won 5 in a row, and they're now in the play-in territory. But a big game tomorrow. As far as at this point, we're getting to the we're midway into the season. Every game's got some importance at this point. And tomorrow, if you went in tomorrow, you claim the season series. That's one less thing to worry about as far as from a record standpoint. If you can be ahead, but
Totally.
End of the line, right?
End of the line. Taking care of business against these teams that are in your tier that you could be fighting with eventual seeding for, and winning that season series would be a pretty big deal for the Kings and get them up to that 3-2 that we were kind of hoping for on this road trip, even if it maybe wasn't exactly the way that we expected. But that's going to do it for this edition of Kings Insider.
Just want to say,
you, Frank.
Thank you very much to Kyle. Thank you to Brenden. Thank you to Alan. Thank you to Chris for coming in on your day off. And thank you everybody that's listening, whether it's at home, in your car, on YouTube. Thank you guys so much. It's been so fun doing this. We plan on doing a lot more, and we appreciate it. And Brenden, thank you for hosting.
Of course.
Appreciate it.
Oh, yeah. Thanks. Just same of what Frank said pretty much. I have a good time doing these and appreciate everybody that listens and tunes in, enjoys the conversations, and hopefully there'll be more in the future. But that's going to do it.
We'll see you at the airport. We'll see you at the airport.
That's going to do it for Sactown Sports. This show here today. Kings Insiders, Brenden Nunes, Frankie Cartoscelli, and got Kyle behind the glass there as well. Appreciate you guys.
Maximum refund? It feels like the last level of a video game, facing off against the final boss who stands between you and your refund.